This is the most authentic wilderness survival show I've ever seen.
10 hunters gather in the North American prize. They must endure hardships and rely on their survival skills. On the first day, contestants appear one after another in the most desolate area of North America.
Chilko Lake is far more dangerous than you can imagine. Contestants will face this environment alone. The high altitude and cold climate mean only those crazy for money would come here. Here, humans are not at the top of the food chain. Black bears, cougars, wolves and moose can easily take down these thrill seekers. Chilko Lake is rich in salmon, providing plenty of food, but it also hosts grizzly bears.
Bear tracks are everywhere, and just thinking about it is terrifying.
Each contestant can only bring 10 items.
They have two choices: starve or be carried out by the crew. They should laugh now because they might not have any tears left to cry later. As the crew's boat departs, Tim's challenge officially begins. He feels extremely nervous, and this tough guy, who could charge like a bull, actually starts crying. Tim is worried about his girlfriend at home,
especially since there's a single guy, old one, next door.
Tim is a full-time hunter, often hunting in the wild.
He's even hunted a black bear before.
While he's not afraid of bears, he does have a healthy respect for them. Tim admits he's here for the money because he has 4 kids to feed, which is more honest than those who claim they're here to challenge themselves.
Tim's first 3 goals are to build a shelter, hunt, and fish. Once those are done, the only thing left is to overcome loneliness.
He's not in a rush at the start. Building a shelter is hard work, so he chooses to hunt and eat first before working, which is definitely the smartest choice. Tim finds bear tracks on the ground, indicating that a black bear might be nearby, so he needs to be extremely cautious. He goes to the shore and finds more fresh bear tracks, meaning a black bear is close. Hopefully, Tim can hunt a black bear here. Meanwhile, Clays is exploring the forest, hearing bird calls and eager to hunt right from the start. This season's contestants are smarter. Clays carries a bow and arrow while exploring and finds many mushrooms, which he picks up along the way.
Clays demonstrated exceptional foraging skills.
Contestants who focus on food supply tend to do well, while those who mindlessly build shelters struggle. Clays, a full-time hunter with excellent hands-on skills, misses his family the most.
The price for a loan is substantial, and Clays is here for the money.
After searching the forest for hours, he finally spotted a grouse ahead. He drew his bow and shot it with ease. These contestants are incredible, hunting food within just a few hours of starting. He takes the grouse to the shore to prepare it.
This grouse will be his dinner tonight.
Although he hasn't built a shelter yet, food is far more important than a place to stay. The grouse isn't very big, but it has over a pound of meat, more than enough for a hearty meal.
Tonight, it's mushroom stew with grouse.
Clays builds a stone fireplace and places the mushroom and grouse stew on it to cook. Suddenly, he hears the sound of breaking wood. When he turns around, he sees a cougar nearby. They lock eyes. What's this? Love at first sight or a case of missed connections?
Clays is blocking the cougar's path.
If the cougar was hungry, Clays was in trouble because his gun had no bullets.
Staring each other down, what was the point?
The cougar left, and Clays wondered why he hadn't taken action.
Was he serious?
He kept thinking about how he regretted not dealing with the cougar. Meanwhile, Matt found the scenery beautiful. While organizing his gear, he spotted a moose in the water. Moose can swim, and if he could hunt it, he'd have more than enough to eat. Matt lived by the sea, skilled not only in fishing but also in making various tools. He had spent 7 years living in a wilderness shelter.
Matt's survival skills are incredibly strong.
For 2 consecutive years, he has been using primitive tools to make fire.
He is very confident about making fire.
While exploring nearby, he found a spot to build a shelter and saw a pile of bear droppings on the ground, indicating that this was bear territory. Building a shelter here would be a bad idea, so he quickly looked for another spot.
Staying here even a minute longer could be life-threatening.
At night, it started to rain heavily.
Clays lay in his tent, feeling helpless, just hoping the rain wouldn't last too long. The next day, Bick woke up early to find water inside his tent, and he drank it directly. The weather was excellent today.
Bick had already started building his shelter yesterday.
He is an amateur singer who enjoys outdoor living.
When he found out his wife was pregnant, he decided to join the wilderness survival competition, thinking that winning the $500,000 prize would significantly change their lives. He wanted to build a log cabin shelter, but the work would consume a lot of his energy, so finding food was equally important. There were many small wild fruits nearby, and Bick explored the area.
He finds a nail on the shore, which is incredibly useful. By heating the nail, he can forge the tools he needs, repeatedly heating and hammering it.
He wants to forge a knife from this nail, but it ends up consuming his entire day. On the 3rd day, Tim wakes up early, complaining about his poor sleep last night with his head positioned downward. Today, he plans to build a shelter. There is plenty of wood nearby, and if he has the capability, he can construct a beautiful log cabin shelter. Since there were bears in the area, everyone's shelters had to be sturdy and reliable. Tim used a wood stacking method to build his shelter, which consumed a lot of wood. However, he designed it with a sloped roof, reducing the internal space but saving construction time. He also built a stone fireplace inside, making the shelter very warm. In just one day, he completed a log cabin shelter.
That's incredibly fast.
If it were those amateur contestants from the Danish version, it would probably take them a year. On the fourth day, Ross was by the shore, enjoying the scenery. It's the fourth day, and Ross is still taking in the scenery while living in a tent. He's searching for a spot to build a permanent shelter. As a full-time hunter skilled in fishing and trapping, Ross has an impressive hunting record despite limited wilderness survival experience.
As long as he can hunt for food, surviving in the wild won't be an issue. Surviving in the wild isn't a problem for him.
He found an open spot with trees to block the wind, though it's far from a water source.
This spot is perfect for building a shelter.
To build the perfect shelter, he didn't think twice and started chopping down trees. Winter is approaching quickly, and they don't have much time left to build their shelters. This area has a lot of grizzly bears, and every contestant wants to build a sturdy shelter.
If I'm not mistaken, this season's contestants will likely all build wooden shelters.
After 2 hours of hard work, he finally got the framework of the shelter up.
After setting up the tent, Matt was starving.
Building the shelter had sapped his energy, and he needed food fast. He heard heavy breathing and saw a small black bear. Matt yelled at it to find its mom, knowing the real danger was if the cub called for her.
Bear tracks were everywhere, enough to scare anyone.
Meanwhile, Tim tried to kill a grouse with rocks, regretting not using a bow.
He was extremely hungry and unable to hunt.
He had no choice but to try fishing. He wanted to use a metal piece to make a lure. After some modifications, he was ready. He took his fishing hook to the rocks to fish. The wind was strong, making it hard to cast his line. Eventually, he gave up on fishing. If he couldn't even catch a fish, Tim wouldn't last here.
After setting up his shelter, he was very hungry.
With the strong wind and no fish, why not gather some wild vegetables and mushrooms nearby to make soup? But he would rather starve than forage. Tim mentioned that his heart was racing at night, suspecting it was due to hunger.
Time moved on.
On the fifth day, Clays woke up around 6.
He was analyzing his shelter, thinking that if another storm came, it might soak everything inside. Clays planned to improve his shelter before the next storm. The next day, Clays made a fishing rod. His hands-on skills are incredible. Before dawn, he was already fishing by the shore. After many attempts, he finally got a bite. Clays successfully caught a fish.
His skills are impressive. He hunted a grouse on the first day and now caught a big fish. The fake bait he made worked perfectly, and this fish would last him 2 days. Early risers indeed get breakfast, while those who wake up at noon can only eat berries. Ross picked a lot of wild berries for his breakfast. Even if they didn't taste great, he had to eat them since food was scarce. Today, he planned to move, gathering his waterproof tarp and heavy sleeping bag, which was taller than him when packed. It was like a heavy-duty hike. Although Ross rebuilt his shelter, it still looked quite basic. It's uncertain how he will improve it in the future. For now, it seems this shelter. The toilet is decent, with a fire pit at the entrance and a roomy interior. At night, he tossed and turned, likely due to the morning berries. Feeling nauseous, he suddenly started vomiting. He couldn't sleep until around 3 in the morning and didn't rest well at all, so tomorrow is likely a write-off. He kept getting up to vomit and cough, and before he knew it, dawn had arrived. Now he's afraid to lie down, worried he'll start vomiting again.
He lay there until sunrise, still feeling unwell.
When Bick woke up early, he felt incredibly charming. Both sides of the nest could be used to make Indian flatbread, salty without even adding salt.
The knife he forged yesterday has taken shape and just needs some finishing touches to become razor sharp.
Bick calls this tetanus-prone knife troll power. He also made a bone spike that he could turn into a nose ring by piercing it through his nose.
I really can't understand this guy's behavior.
The wind has been very strong lately, and Tim finds the tarp in his shelter extremely noisy. Ever since he built his shelter, he's been slacking off. He hasn't caught any fish, and his hunting isn't going well either. After getting up, he went for a walk by the shore and spotted a grouse nearby. Hunger made his heart race, and he could clearly feel his body struggling.
It was tough for him to make it back.
Shelter, this grouse everywhere. Where are you?
Where are you?
My heart is pounding so hard. I don't feel right.
I don't feel right.
Oh, I just made it here.
Hey you there.
I don't want to tap out.
Just made there.
I don't want to tap out. I don't want to die.
I don't want to die.
I don't want to die.
Go away.
I'm so sorry. No, please, please don't tap out. I'm so sorry. Please, a level of our attack. Please, please.
Please, I swear.
Its chimney nails where hearts beat real hard.
I'm having severe chest pains. I think I might be having
A man is severely transported.
What the happens? I'm gonna live through this. Please don't make it home to my family.
In the end, Tim called the show crew because of his heart issues. He lay in bed, praying his heart wouldn't give out. In this environment, having a heart attack could mean the end. Ultimately, Tim chose to withdraw from the competition. Although he only lasted 6 days, it's understandable given his heart problems. So, what surprises will the remaining contestants bring us? Stay tuned for the next episode. This is the most authentic wilderness survival I've ever seen, with contestants building sturdy wooden shelters in black bear territory, spending days constructing rafts, and catching dozens of pounds of fish. One fish filled an entire iron pot. The first episode introduced 5 contestants, and the second episode continues with the other 5. On the first day, Corte arrived and immediately chose a spot to build a temporary shelter. There was a flat area, but he wanted to explore the surroundings first. Food is the top priority for survivors, and he was eager to showcase his skills on TV. His mom is a huge fan of the show, and his performance will make her proud, giving her some serious bragging rights in the village. Corte works in education and is knowledgeable about various fish species. He enjoys DIY projects and has strong practical skills. While exploring, he finds a pile of bear droppings and examines it closely, discovering insects and fruit inside, which he finds quite appetizing. The nearby grass shows signs of being trampled, likely where the bear rested, indicating the area is dangerous. He quickly decides to gather some berries and leave. After gathering some berries, Nate decided to move on. He had just arrived and wanted to explore the shoreline for resources. The flat terrain made it easy to find a spot for a temporary shelter. He placed his backpack on open ground and set out with his bow and arrow. Nate, a retired soldier, might not be the best at survival skills, but you can't underestimate him. He has decent hands-on skills and can make hunting traps. With 5 kids to support, being on the show is no small feat for him.
Nate is here solely for the money. He found an animal trail, hinting at nearby wildlife. Hearing a grouse call from a tree, he carefully located it and took a shot with his bow, but missed. Calling him a noob would insult dogs. It's just the first day, so missing isn't a big deal. He'll likely miss more shots. After many male contestants, a female finally appeared. Teresa, a 39-year-old Stone Age expert, was thrilled with the environment and began exploring the resources around her. Claiming to be an expert in the Stone Age, people often say experts are usually amateurs, but Teresa has a PhD, making her a genuine expert. She is very skilled in using stone tools and has extensive experience in outdoor survival. Despite having lived with dozens of boyfriends, as long as she's not married, she's still a maiden. While exploring the shore, she picks and eats any edible plants she finds. Teresa is the first contestant to start eating right away. She also discovers bear droppings on the ground and squats down to study them. Every contestant has found bear droppings, which shows. He found an open spot and decided to build a temporary shelter there. Then he went to the shore, started a fire, and boiled a pot of water to drink. Why not fish with all that time? The next day, while boiling water, Michelle discovered a roasted cricket. In the wild, such food is rare and valuable, high in calories and fat. Michelle popped it into his mouth to taste. These foreigners are quite peculiar. They won't eat fish heads or chicken feet but will munch on bugs. Michelle lived with the natives for 4 years. With extensive snow survival experience, he is skilled in making hunting traps and cooking in the wild. He also built a shelter where he lived for many years. The contestants on alone are indeed very capable. Michelle searched for food along the shore, finding plenty of wild onions. If he had meat, these onions would make a delicious seasoning. He collected a bunch to eat and picked many berries. While tasting the berries by the shore, he spotted a black bear bathing nearby. The proximity was terrifying, so he quickly found a place to hide. Running into a black bear in the wild is definitely not ideal. Without a hunting rifle, there's no way to take it down. Luckily, the bear doesn't notice him. Meanwhile, Teresa is making a comb. Can you believe it? She's weaving a comb out here. Isn't she worried about her safety while trying to look good? She picks a spot by the shore for her permanent shelter. With the strong winds, she opts for a sunken shelter. Building a pit house is tough, especially without proper tools. Teresa clears the area with wood and starts digging with a sharp stick. This project will surely leave her arms sore.
While digging, he found some larvae and immediately popped them into his mouth, using them as bait.
Wouldn't fishing be a better idea?
These larvae are rich in protein, and he found them quite tasty. After a few hours, he finally dug a half-meter deep pit. The soil was loose, making it easier to dig, but there were many large rocks, which made the task exhausting.
Despite that, the progress was pretty fast.
On the third day, Jordan found a lot of ants in the wood. These ants are a great source of protein, and if there are enough of them, they could be a meal.
Aren't ants full of germs? Eating them directly, isn't he afraid of getting sick?
Today, his goal is to build a shelter, which is Jordan's specialty. As a professional carpenter, he excels at making various tools from wood, and there is plenty of wood here. Jordan plans to build a small cabin with a single pitch roof.
Every contestant wants to build the perfect shelter. However, building a shelter from the start requires skill and must be balanced with food gathering.
Jordan notches each piece of wood to make stacking easier, speeding up the overall progress. He is very confident in his challenge.
Around 10 at night, the shelter.
Heavy breathing sounds come from outside, and a black bear appears nearby.
Anyone timid would be scared to death.
On the fourth day, Jordan notices branches broken by the bear, about 25 meters from the shelter. A sturdy shelter is crucial, so he hurries to finish it. Meanwhile, Corte has been trying to start a fire by friction for days, even though he has a fire starter.
Now he can't even boil water.
Fire by friction is labor-intensive. The wood spins rapidly to create embers, which are then placed in tinder to start a fire. At this moment, Corte feels all the pressure release. With fire, he can boil water, and the next task is to get food. He wants to build a boat to fish in deeper waters. If he succeeds, Corte will have an endless supply of fish.
Corte felt all his stress melt away.
With fire, he could boil water to drink.
His next task was to get food.
He wanted to build a boat to fish in deeper waters. If he could make the boat, he'd have an endless supply of fish. Nate had gathered a lot of wild mushrooms and strung them up to dry, but relying on mushrooms alone wasn't sustainable. He planned to start fishing and wanted to make an automatic fishing tool to save time. He used a red string as a lure, which was convenient but had a low success rate.
Why not just dig for worms to fish?
Nate took his fishing rod to the shore, ready to set up his fishing hook.
Whether he caught anything would be down to luck.
On the fifth day at dawn, Teresa heard a bear growling near her shelter, scaring her so much she couldn't sleep. In the morning, she found bear tracks on the shore, bigger than a human foot. Teresa guessed a bear lived nearby and knew she had to hurry to finish her shelter. After digging the pit, she needed to secure the wooden stakes for the roof. She collected wood from the shore, which was more cost-effective than chopping it down. A young woman carrying 100 pounds of wood.
Even I, a tough guy, have to give her props.
Teresa placed the wood in the pit's center, then filled it with gravel and sand to secure the pillars. She added wood around the edges as a shoe rack and just needed to lay waterproof fabric to finish the structure. It was sturdy and perfect for a permanent shelter. Jordan tried fishing from the rocks, but the waves were too strong, and he wasn't skilled at fishing. He had to give up building the shelter, which drained his energy.
Now, finding food quickly was the top priority.
Jordan found an abandoned can on the shore but couldn't think of a use for it at the moment. The sky in the distance started to darken, signaling an approaching storm. He was far from his shelter and needed to get back before the rain started, or it would be dangerous. The waves grew stronger, knocking him down several times, but he eventually made it back to the shelter safely. He was cold and exhausted, highlighting the importance of a perfect shelter. On the sixth day, Michelle made a chair, and sitting on it felt incredibly comfortable. Today, he plans to build a permanent shelter. This spot was quite good for a shelter. He intended to build a tripod-style shelter by tying the tops of the wood together and spreading the legs to form a tripod. The hardest part was setting up the tripod. Once that was done, he just needed to place a horizontal beam in the middle and lean the wood against it to form the shelter's slanted roof. Finally, he would cover it with a waterproof tarp, creating a spacious and comfortable shelter. Corte had been busy making a raft for the past few days, and today he finally finished its structure and covered it with a waterproof tarp.
This completes the raft.
He moves the finished raft to the shore.
If it can float successfully, Corte's fishing plan can be realized.
He inserts small branches into the body of the raft to make it sturdier. After a lot of effort, he finally completes the small boat. He also needs to make a paddle, which he carves directly from wood. These contestants are really skilled with their hands. Next, he will test the raft's buoyancy. The waves were relatively calm, but the small boat swayed a lot. It was quite a struggle to get on it, and although it could float, it wasn't very stable. Corte worked hard to stabilize the boat, and it seemed to be working well. With this boat, he could reach the ideal fishing spot.
Overall, the test was fairly successful.
On the seventh day, Nate sat on a log early in the morning and saw a squirrel stealing mushrooms. Before he could get close, the squirrel ran away. Nate's progress was the slowest. He hadn't started building a permanent shelter or hunted any food. He planned to build an A-frame shelter. Building a shelter takes a lot of wood, and hauling it is tough work. Nate set up a frame and covered it with a tarp. For such a big guy, his small shelter shows he's not too serious. Yesterday, he set a fishing rod by the shore, and now he's checking it. He pulled in a big fish, probably 5 or 6 pounds, really lucky. This fish will feed him for 3 days. He cleaned it by the shore, and its belly was full of bones. A whole fish makes a pot full of soup. Do out there floating. I can like to move in and reset it. Got a fish? Oh my god, that is a boat trout. Set line word Toja. My shelter is built, so everything is working out. What other surprises will the contestants bring us? Stay tuned for the next episode.
So everything is working out.
This is the most authentic survival experience in the history of Alone. Contestants are surviving in black bear territory and have built sturdy wooden shelters to protect themselves from bear attacks.
Each contestant's skills are impressive, creating increasingly attractive shelters and even making fish head soup.
On the 7th day, Bick wakes up early and decides to modify his clothes. He cuts a piece of fabric to use as a headband, which can also wrap around his arm. The sleeveless shirt now hangs under his armpit, finally giving off a charmingly rugged vibe. Today's plan is to Bick has been focusing on his shelter from the beginning, wanting to finish it quickly so he can start gathering food. The shelter just needs a roof to be complete. Bick spends the morning building the roof structure with wooden sticks and finally completes it. Standing there, he notices the wind blowing from the water and uses branches to block the side of the shelter. Adding some deadwood to secure Bick's shelter was a bit unexpected but turned out to be quite perfect. Meanwhile, Clay has also finished building his new shelter. He pulls out a pair of pink shorts, something he never dared to wear at home but feels free to do so in the wilderness. He wore them only once and now plans to repurpose them into a storage bag. The next moment, he puts the shorts on his head, and I couldn't help but laugh. He hangs his food in a tree to prevent bears from stealing it. The shelter is done, but he still needs to build a fireplace. Winter is coming to this area, and the winds can get pretty strong. Clay collected some moss and stuffed it into the gaps in the wood, which not only helps with insulation but also improves the chimney's draft. This 6-foot-tall guy made such a detailed shelter, even smearing mud around the chimney to prevent the wood from burning. Next, he tested the chimney's draft, and the fire burned brightly, indicating the fireplace was a success. If he can keep his food supply steady, Clay might just win this thing because he's not acting like a mere bystander. This episode's contestants are all really strong. The contestants this season are all very strong. Matt has built a wooden shelter and is now focused on gathering food. He found a lot of wild onions nearby. While wild onions are usually just a seasoning, they can be a meal if you have enough. While digging them up, the nearby grass caught fire, but he managed to put it out in time. If it had caused a wildfire, the show's insurance wouldn't have covered it. He chopped the onions and put them in a pot. Today's lunch is wild onion soup, using whatever food he has.
Whatever food you have.
And that's about it. Survivors still just a few simple ingredients to make a meal when doing survival. On the 8th day, Bick's shelter was still not finished. Today, he plans to continue improving it. He wants a wooden bed raised off the ground, which can be done by propping up some wooden planks. It's quite comfortable to lie on, but that's not enough. He collected a lot of pine branches and spread them on the bed as a mattress, making it even more comfortable. He covered it with a waterproof cloth, and now he has a wooden shelter that can withstand black bears. Alright, having this shelter means Bick has entered high society. The weather was great today, so Bick moved all his stuff into the new shelter. Although the entrance was a bit low, it should be quite cozy once he got used to it. Clay had just woken up and planned to hunt today. His shelter was very spacious, so he could now focus on food. He took his bow and arrows and went into the forest to look for prey. As a professional hunter, he identified the spots deer liked the most. On the ground, he found bear droppings, which made him tense up immediately since bears are the most dangerous animals here. There are a lot of dead trees around, likely from a past fire. The ground is littered with fallen logs, making it tough to walk. After circling the area, he finds no trails. Clay thinks this used to be a deer hunting spot, but it's now destroyed. He's at a loss for what to do next. Today's hunting plan is another failure. If I were Clay, I'd spend half the day hunting and the other half fishing. In the jungle, he finds a tree with bear claw marks and hears a bear's roar nearby.
The bear was just a few meters away, so for safety, he decided to head back to the shelter.
On the 9th day, Jordan took a walk by the shore. The weather was so nice that he even considered taking a bath. The water looked clear, but it was quite cold, and staying in it too long would make him shiver. He had been working on his shelter for several days, progressing slowly. As a carpenter, he probably had higher standards, making sure every piece of wood was neatly sawed. Striving for perfection might not be the best idea. After finishing the basic structure,
he added a door to the shelter, and slow and steady, it turned out beautifully.
Dick stood at the doorway, admiring the view of the lake, though he couldn't catch any fish there.
Luckily, his chubbiness made the lack of food feel like a forced diet. But to win, he couldn't just endure hunger.
Jordan decided to go hunting, hoping to catch a grouse. Standing by the shore, he eyed the distant landing point.
The water was clear but cold, making swimming risky. However, being a frequent swimmer, he braved the cold and swam across, only to find the area unsuitable for hunting. He had to swim back, wasting energy and time. However, Jordan was quite heavy and a frequent swimmer, so as long as he wasn't afraid of the cold, swimming across wouldn't be a problem. He eventually made it across and scouted the area, but it wasn't suitable for hunting. With no success, he had to swim back, wasting his energy.
He didn't try fishing, wasting time instead.
Meanwhile, Ross was making fishing tools, as fishing was the simplest form of hunting. Although his fishing rod was primitive, as long as he could get the hook in the water, it was all down to luck.
In the evening,
at night, Ross heard footsteps outside his shelter.
a black bear appeared nearby. Luckily, Ross hadn't done anything to attract attention.
He held his rifle, ready to attack at any moment. Even though the bear eventually left, he was too scared to sleep. On the 10th day, Michelle was at the shore early in the morning, reporting the weather with a wooden microphone. The waves were huge today. Seeing this silly woman, I felt like my eggs shattered all over the place. Although Michelle had built a shelter, it wasn't fully completed and was barely livable.
He dug up a root. He roasted the root to eat, and the taste nearly knocked him out.
Muttering about fishing, he chopped down a slender branch to use as a rod. He tied a fishing line to it and slowly moved it out, hoping it would work.
Matt sat by the shore, killing time.
He didn't feel very lonely here. Suddenly, he saw something swimming in the distance.
It was a black bear. Even though it was far away, it made him nervous.
With his shelter already built, it was time to focus on hunting. He grabbed his bow from the shelter. He found that the bowstring had been chewed through by a mouse. The bow was his main hunting tool, and without it, he couldn't hunt. This mouse had no morals, destroying other people's things like that. Reporting it would make Matt seem petty, but not reporting it wouldn't get him any compensation. Matt had no choice but to accept his bad luck and tried to tie the bowstring with a thin rope. He tried it a couple of times, and it seemed okay for now, but he wasn't sure how it would hold up in actual use. At night, Matt decided to make a mousetrap, vowing to make the mouse pay dearly. Using some branches, he made a small trap which was held down by a heavy stone weighing over 10 pounds. The little mouse was destined to be crushed, but it would take some time. On the 11th day, Michelle discovered that his hair seemed to have a life of its own. He hadn't washed it since arriving, and now it was full of lice. He had been so busy building his shelter that he hadn't gone hunting or fishing.
Now, he was feeling extremely hungry and unwell.
Despite his hunger, he kept working on his shelter.
These contestants would rather starve than give up.
Don't feel sorry for her, she was too weak from hunger to work. She'd been eating wild parsnip, which looks like water hemlock, and thought she might be poisoned.
She grabbed some charcoal to neutralize it. If she was poisoned, Michelle would soon quit.
On the 12th day, she woke up at 5, drenched in sweat and feeling awful. She felt like vomiting but managed to gather herself. By morning, she felt better and sat by the shore drinking water.
Stop sitting around and catch some fish. Jordan had been eating berries for days. Eating berries.
Today, he plans to spend a few hours fishing. Standing on a log, he casts his line and, to his surprise, catches a fish.
This makes him incredibly happy.
Jordan catches a large trout, enough to sustain him for 3 days. Clay has also been eating berries lately but hasn't given up on hunting, going out almost every day. He collects dozens of pounds of berries, moves a log, digs a hole in the ground, lines it with wooden planks, and covers it with moss.
Clay wants to store the berries underground to keep them fresh. Jordan starts
preparing a feast. He plans to pick berries and make a soup with mushrooms. A pot of bull trout head soup with a 2-pound fish head, half a pot of water, and some grass roots to remove the fishy smell. The fish head is used for the soup, and the remaining fish meat is saved for later. He also made a smoker to preserve the fish.
To prevent bears from stealing it, he plans to stay nearby tonight to guard it.
Jordan brings the fish soup to the shore and enjoys today's fish feast. It's the best meal he's had since arriving, perfectly balancing meat and veggies, and it tastes incredible.
What will the contestants surprise us with next? Stay tuned!
no matter how heavy the rain. Just from the outside, her shelter looks much better than the others.
Let's take a look inside. There's room for a few more people. Teresa's next project is a fireplace and chimney. She believes that even if she doesn't win, as long as her shelter is sturdy, she'll consider this challenge a win.
Meanwhile, Nate seems to be breezing through it. He wakes up to a sea breeze and a rainbow, like he's on vacation.
He thinks soaking up the sun is healthy for him, and thinks he can feed himself through photosynthesis. If his stomach wasn't growling, I might have bought into his nonsense. Nate hasn't had meat for 5 days. Although he wants to catch fish for food, the sea breeze isn't cooperating, making it tough to cast his line far. The waves keep pushing him back. Most folks in this situation would probably give up,
but Nate has a bold idea to build a pier using the driftwood nearby. This way, he can fish anytime. It's a great idea, but considering it needs to be at least 8 meters long, Nate is under a lot of pressure and might not finish the pier before he collapses from exhaustion.
For now, he has to tackle it step by step. He starts by using an axe to cut nails to size,
so he's pushing himself hard. It should take about 3 to 4 days to finish.
Nate stays hopeful.
When he's worn out, he flaunts his beard to the camera. If the show allowed beard conditioner, he says it would feel even smoother when the wind isn't so strong.
He can continue placing the frame into the sea. Meanwhile, Colt is showing off his little boat on camera. I don't know if you all can see it, but I can't see anything.
He's very pleased with his little boat. He wishes on both sides. When waves hit, they help spread the pressure, letting him control the boat and avoid accidents.
What score do you think his boat deserves?
I think the quality of the boat doesn't matter as much as whether it can help him catch fish.
Otherwise, all the effort is wasted.
He was so intent on heading out to sea that he left his fishing rod behind.
Annoyed, he took a dip to cool off. If not for the competition, Colt would love to stay in the water.
Whether it was his loud laughter or his clean appearance, he somehow drew a grizzly bear.
Colt's shouting didn't scare it off,
it only made the bear more interested. He saw drool dripping from its mouth and, terrified, grabbed his signal box to scare it off.
But it didn't work at all. Did the show give him a dud?
Instead, it riled up the bear, making it come closer. Colt was more concerned about his boat than his own safety.
He kept shouting and firing signal flares. After scaring the bear away, he notices he's completely naked. No wonder its grizzly is starving too. Who knows if he can fend it off next time. Compared to Colt's fearful night, Jordan's situation is a bit better. Even though he didn't catch any fish this morning, he still has a good stash of fish from earlier, enough to keep him fed for a few days. Check out the color and texture of this dried fish. Suddenly, my beef jerky looks less appetizing.
But living on dried fish alone won't cut it long term. He still needs other energy sources. Jordan's cabin is already pretty perfect and could house future contestants, but he's not stopping there. He's putting hinges on the door for easier access.
Having food to cook really helps, otherwise, who'd bother with such details?
Naturally, a door latch is crucial to keep animals out. He's even planning to show it off to his wife when he wins,
hoping she can join him for a few days.
Meanwhile, Nate is so hungry he's rethinking everything. The wind and waves make building a pier tougher, but despite this, he's determined to finish it. Starving won't help him win. He might as well take a shot and complete the pier. Even if he doesn't catch a single fish, at least he can go back and brag to his kids.
To build the pier properly,
the key is a stable support point, but Nate's structure collapses early on. He has to head back to shore and rethink his approach. The failure was because he forgot to secure the beams. Even a slight wave scattered them.
He'll try again once he warms up a bit.
To warm up quickly, besides drying off and wearing warm clothes, the key is this pot of hot water. It's day 16 after a grizzly bear scare. Colt hasn't ventured out to sea for 2 days.
He just lay in his sleeping bag, not moving.
If his stomach wasn't growling, he would have happily stayed there until the competition ended.
He doesn't run into a grizzly bear every time he heads out to sea.
Colt paddles towards the fish again, recalling how his dad often took him fishing. He knows the fish's habits well.
That's pretty familiar. As long as I'm not too unlucky, I can easily catch one.
However, dozing off on the boat with no fish biting, Colt figured he might as well hunt a grizzly bear. At least then, he'd get a full meal. He lost track of time lying there until he finally felt a tug on the line.
I need to get up and fish properly now. Thankfully, I caught this one while still in the boat. After all that work, I finally have something to eat. This fish should keep me going for a few more days. If I really push it, I might stretch it to a week. After a quick clean, he can bring it back to cook and eat.
While the others are still thrilled about finding food, Jordan is bored and decides to carve a small pipe from wood.
Ideally, there'd be a fish on the line.
When Nate lifted the fishing line, he was surprised to find a fish there. Although it wasn't even as big as his palm, it at least proved the pier worked. He needed to document this properly, it could be crucial for winning. He quickly took the fish back to clean it. He slowly roasted it over the fire. This time, he would chew the fish bones and swallow them to not waste any nutrients. If the fish weren't so hot, he would have swallowed it whole.
It was crispy and didn't need any seasoning. Grilling it makes it delicious. Nate invites everyone to fish and eat.
It's all natural and clean, so eating it raw is fine. After everyone has eaten their fill, they sit by the fire, deep in thought. He imagines how wonderful it would be to catch a fish daily. In the future, he plans to bring his family here for a vacation to experience.
On the 19th day,
Jordan, who loves making small crafts, decides to make the cabin cozier. He plans to add his family's initials, so that anyone passing by will know this is the Jordan family's cabin.
If only his family were here now. The finished product looks quite nice.
Jordan imagines his kids growing up, getting married, and bringing their children here.
Wow! He's envisioning this place as a family shrine.
When Jordan's not busy, his mind drifts to happy family memories. He has few friends, preferring to spend time with his family.
This is the longest he's ever been away from them.
Jordan's daughter had heart problems from birth, needing 2 surgeries immediately and more every 6 months. Even though he tried his best to get her the best treatment, he still lost her. So, Jordan hopes to win this challenge to pay off his debts. He didn't want to talk about this, but thinking about his daughter makes it hard.
How long do you think you could last? 8 contestants remain. Who do you think will win? They call wilderness survival a gourmet show. So, what's on the menu?
First up, a crunchy snail snack to start. Eating them with the shell adds a crunch. Then there's the must-have grilled fish, especially the bones after grilling.
The bones are even tastier than the meat. Would anyone like to try this lifestyle?
It's the 17th day of the Wilderness Survival Challenge.
Clay has slowly gotten used to the environment.
He put a lot of effort into building his shelter and now believes he just needs to gather more food and firewood. He thinks he can tough it out here until the competition ends. Since arriving, he's shed over 40 pounds and his belt no longer fits.
The big problem is he hasn't caught any fish lately.
He used to catch them easily, but now he can't even spot a tiny one.
Clay has been really frustrated by this.
To fish in deeper waters, he needs to reweave his net. He hopes the new net will help him catch fish. It looks pretty good, and if he finds a school of fish, he could score big with one haul. The lake's water level has risen significantly. Clay heads to the rocks to find food, ready to demonstrate his skills.
No, don't do that.
Fortunately, he acted fast, otherwise his fishing rod would be toast.
He needs to concentrate on fishing.
He trusts his tools and skills
are perfectly fine. He's just lacking a bit of luck.
He's already burned a lot of calories today, so he decides to lie down and conserve energy.
It's uncertain if Clay will catch any fish despite his hunger.
On the other hand, Michelle is more practical. Without fish, she resorts to boiling snails.
The meat inside feels smaller than a tooth gap.
For her, eating them means she can last a few more days, though the taste is hard to describe.
She can barely swallow it.
To last until the end, eating just wild fruits and bugs isn't enough. Michelle plans to make a fish trap. She only has to toss it in the water and check it each day. The funnel's hole is smaller than she thought, probably only letting small fish in. She really wants to win the prize money to help her husband's sick brother. She hopes the trap will bring good news.
In theory, it should be more effective than fishing. Michelle takes the trap to the shore, unsure of the best spot. She tosses it in without much thought. Will it catch anything? I doubt it. The camera shifts to Matt.
His fishing gear is much more refined. He's in a good mood today, even singing a song. Go fishing cause it's gonna be fun. Compared to other contestants, he has a deep channel nearby. The odds of catching fish are better here, so Matt casts his line frequently.
It's time to show his skills.
With each cast, he feels a nibble, but unfortunately, the fish slips away. He tries to wade into deeper water. Even though he feels fish touching the hook now and then, none of them bite.
The water is just too cold. Matt can't stay in the cold water for long.
It's his wife's birthday, and she's never been away from family this long.
He's beginning to miss them, while pondering a gift to bring back. He actually catches a fish, though it's a bit small.
He quickly returns to the shelter to cook it. For him, it's the most delicious fish soup.
He doesn't even waste the bones, roasting them until they taste like chips. He suggests everyone should try it.
Matt feels like the fish is almost digested before it even reaches his stomach.
To forget the feeling of hunger, he does a full set of yoga every day.
It helps clear his mind, making him forget his worries and hunger.
If it weren't for his stomach growling, I might have believed it. Matt, being a survival coach,
he understands this challenge is all about enduring hunger and believes his yoga skills give him an edge. On day 18, Baiko has been hard at work making a knife, but the result is tough to explain.
Someone might wonder about the knife's purpose. Baiko would honestly say it's useless. It's so dull it can't even shave. Its only use is to look cool. It's as awkward as the sixth emoji on your phone. To prove the knife has some use, Biko forcefully uses it to chop small wood. He thinks he has a talent.
If he had known, he would have joined a knife-making competition instead of being here, eating poorly and sleeping badly. His stomach growls again. It's been days without meat.
Even with his body fat, it's not enough.
He opts to craft a fish trap, finding the nearby willow branches ideal.
A quick chop with the axe and he has what he needs. Weaving them together isn't hard. He slowly interlaces them in order. He's curious how many contestants are left.
If only half are left, his body fat might give him a good chance to win.
Just as he's imagining winning the prize, he heard splashing sounds below. His heart sank.
The bear was playing in the water below.
Luckily, it wasn't very big.
A little shout scared it off, but he worried its parents might be nearby.
His small knife couldn't cut through much, and he was starving.
But he didn't like bear meat. Fish tasted much better.
Plus, he hadn't bathed in days.
He reeked and hoped the bear wasn't hungry enough to eat him. He prayed it was just passing by. He quickly completed the fish trap and tossed it into the water, eager to avoid another bear encounter.
He wondered, if the trap caught fish, would the bear come and take them?
On the 19th day, Michelle was busy rebuilding her shelter. She wanted to protect the fireplace a bit more, hoping to retain more heat and use less firewood at night.
Her only concern was that it wasn't waterproof. She prayed the weather would hold. Michelle's hunger made her question her life choices,
just wanting to stuff her mouth with meat. Luckily, there were some wild fruits nearby to pick, barely satisfying her cravings. She didn't know how the fish trap was doing, desperately needing a big meal to fill her stomach. Survival tips were also crucial. He mostly relied on his snot for sustenance, which sounded gross but was surprisingly effective. While he could still move, he checked the fish trap by the shore. If he could catch just one fish,
he'd have the confidence to keep going.
But reality hit him hard. The trap was washed up on debris.
Even if it caught fish, they had long escaped. Michelle saw it was empty and felt utterly defeated.
She worried she wouldn't last until the end.
Now, all she could do was rest in her shelter and take it day by day.
I doubt Michelle will make a comeback. She's pretty much out of the challenge.
Meanwhile, on the 20th day,
Nate was still playing with his beard in front of the camera. He found it amusing when bored, lifting his spirits. If it weren't for his growling stomach, Nate could play with it all day. Besides the food issue, he thought sleep was crucial.
Tree branches alone weren't enough.
He'd rather use more energy to make his bed comfortable.
He planned to make a hammock to ease his back pain. He recommended everyone try it. The rope I picked up on the beach is ideal for making a bed. That's why it's smart to gather anything you find out here. You never know when it might come in handy.
Making this bed isn't difficult at all, it just takes a bit of time.
By repeatedly weaving the ropes together, it can hold several people without any issues. This is the final product.
Nate settled into the hammock, thinking, this is way comfier than my bed at home.
If I could, I'd take this home, he says, looking content.
I wish I could just stay here until tomorrow.
Is it really that comfy?
Meanwhile, Matt, the real adventurer, is up and about while others are still resting.
He's already perched in a tree, soaking in the view.
If he slips, the crew might as well start dinner.
Although climbing up there is a bit risky, seeing the lake view makes it all worth it. When he's alone, he misses his family and wishes they could see this place. Matt's main problem now is his worsening mood. You have to adjust your mindset in time. The most effective way is to keep yourself busy. First, fix up this drafty little hut.
My hut's insulation is almost non-existent, making the cold nights unbearable. Fortunately, there's a big patch of soft grass nearby. There's a big patch of soft grass here, ideal for filling gaps.
But wouldn't you know it, something unexpected happened. Who'd have guessed there'd be wasps here?
They're getting closer, and Matt just wants to escape without provoking them.
The non-stop buzzing in his ears was making him lose it.
You have to admit, Matt's luck was awful, and his mood just kept sinking.
Even late into the night, things didn't improve.
Matt had believed his survival coach experience would give him an edge over the others.
Who knew his mastered skills would be so useless here?
He still had to push through on sheer willpower.
He's already contemplating quitting. The suffering is too much for him. Matt's emotions are running high. In front of the camera, he's gesticulating wildly. Oh boy, another contestant is thinking about quitting. It's the 21st day.
Michelle's hunger has her doubting her decisions. Her teeth feel loose from malnutrition, and her body is extremely weak. He's using his remaining strength to scavenge for food and survive a few more days. His old fishing traps are useless now. Hearing a grouse call in the morning, he grabbed his bow and arrow to try his luck nearby.
Now, it's all about scraping by.
His weight is dangerously low. Eating whatever he could find before didn't help much. It didn't help much and only made him weaker. He's pinning all his hopes on this bow and arrow.
Probably only has 1 or 2 shots left. If he doesn't get anything, he'll have to say goodbye.
Michelle found a relatively open spot,
Hoping a grouse might pass by.
I wonder why she didn't set up some snares earlier. That might have been more reliable than fishing. She didn't find anything along the way and had to stop by a tree to rest. Michelle seemed lost in thought.
She gazed into the distance, possibly at her breaking point.
Not wanting to stay, she heads back to the shelter, lost in thought.
Reflecting on her recent efforts, she notices the barren surroundings and the absence of wild fruits.
Just as she sighs, a grouse appears and she swiftly readies her bow and arrow.
She knew she only had 1 chance. If she missed, she'd have to go home.
But as Michelle got closer, the grouse had already disappeared. Lady Luck wasn't on her side, although she wanted to hold out for the prize money. She had no choice. She had reached her limit and had to call the crew. She didn't have much fat to begin with and had been relying on willpower to get this far. The crew expected her to leave. Catching the grouse wouldn't have helped her recover, and she would have been sent home to rest anyway. Michelle was pretty down at that moment. She missed out on the prize money, but life moves on. She hopes things will improve for them soon.
Michelle felt much calmer when the crew showed up. She was eager to get home and enjoy a good meal. If she gets another chance to come back, she'll make sure to pack on more fat. She had thought she might fail, but didn't expect it to be this soon. She's curious who will win the prize. Soon, the crew took Michelle away. Now, just 7 contestants remain. Hopefully, they can last a bit longer. It's day 21 of the competition. Clay is getting ready to hunt with his bow and arrow. He's not counting on catching fish anymore. Just finding a grouse would be great. The area is quiet, so if any animals pass by, he'll know right away. He's pretty confident in his archery skills. He scans the road for tracks, knowing it's vital for his survival. After some wandering, Clay finally spots some. It still looks fresh. If he really manages to hunt that deer, I think the championship is his.
Now Clay is thinking about hunting the deer, but he's unsure if he has the energy to return to the shelter by nightfall.
Clay is still torn about his next move. Should he continue lying there, starving, or go out and hunt the deer for food? What would you choose? I wonder what Clay will decide. Anyway, his heart is racing. It's day 22. Matt is on the brink of quitting.
He can't even muster the energy for a walk anymore, feeling like life has been too harsh. He aimed to last a month, but now he's at his breaking point.
Yet, he wants to make one final effort. He hopes to find some food.
Though he can handle the physical strain, his mental state is near breaking. He keeps thinking about the happy times with his family, and his mood gets worse.
Even fishing doesn't cheer him up.
Matt feels he can't stay here any longer, or he'll go crazy.
Being with his family is more important than winning the competition. He rushes to call the show's producers, desperate to go home immediately. He can't bear to stay here any longer. The producers were surprised by Matt's early exit. They had high hopes for him due to his strong survival skills. He just had a streak of bad luck. Matt had believed he could last until the producers had to carry him out. But he never thought he'd give up in under a month. It shows that those who last have extraordinary survival skills and mental strength. That's something not everyone can achieve. Matt feels he's done well and just wants to get home quickly. He hopes to share his experiences and try it with his family someday. With Matt gone, only 6 contestants remain. Who do you think has the best chance of winning? Personally, I'm rooting for Clay. Since he's going after that deer, he won't have to worry about food for days if he catches it. Then he can rest and save his energy, ensuring the prize money stays his. Clay decides to begin at the tracks he discovered yesterday. He wants to see if there are any new signs nearby. Lady Luck is on his side. He finds fresh droppings, and they're still warm. Soon, he hears the deer nearby. He swiftly while others were still cheering over their fish, this guy had already expertly butchered the deer and needed a smokehouse to store it. Look at this deer leg, it's bigger than my face. If the other contestants saw this, they might just call the show and quit. Let's take a look at how Clay hunted the deer. On the 22nd day, the moment Clay spotted the deer, he immediately grabbed his bow and shot it. Although he hit the vital spot, the deer didn't fall right away. Instead, it bolted further into the woods. Clay knew he'd get the meat eventually, so letting it run wasn't a problem. The only concern was attracting bears, but today was his lucky day. If one appeared, he could just demonstrate how to gut it on the spot. Now, he just needed to follow the blood trail. The faster the deer ran, the quicker it would collapse. Look at this broken arrow. You can imagine how powerful it was. Clay didn't have to go far before he found the deer lying on the ground. He was thrilled. This deer meant that as long as he didn't get too cocky, he was practically assured victory in the competition. Clay might even wake up in disbelief from excitement. If it weren't for the fear of predators, he would have loved to roast some deer meat right there, but he couldn't get too excited yet. He had to process the deer quickly.
Otherwise, if the blood clotted, it would be a disaster.
Do you think anyone else can compete with Clay now that he has such a big deer? I doubt anyone can beat Clay now. We might as well declare him the winner. Disagree? Let us know.
Now, Clay has to haul the meat back before nightfall. It'll be exhausting, but having meat to eat makes it worthwhile. He can't wait to tell his family the good news.
Unlike Clay, the other contestants aren't as fortunate. For instance, Colt has barely had any meat recently.
He's lost about 30 pounds.
The long-term lack of nutrition has even turned his beard white.
He also wants to hunt for food. But all he's seen so far is a bear. Every morning, the first thing he does is gather wild berries nearby, trying to stock up before winter.
The energy they provide isn't much, just enough to curb his hunger.
But to be fair, these cranberries taste pretty good. If you like them, come here and experience what cranberry freedom is like.
Colt now has to carefully plan his energy use.
He needs to conserve energy for fishing, his best bet to avoid hunger.
Until winter, wild berries are his primary food source. If they could work together, I could save a lot of time and energy. Colt is even thinking about setting up a planting area.
I'm really worried that he'll be too hungry to wait for anything to grow and the crew will have to carry him home.
Colt believes that as long as the others are starving too,
he thinks his fruit grove might win. With the prize money, he plans to start a wilderness survival school and have its graduates join alone. By then, he'll have enough money for a second branch.
Man, he really sees the show as a cash machine. At least Colt has some wild fruits to eat. Nate next door is already skin and bones.
It feels like a slight touch could break his bones.
He thinks he's so thin he could be an exhibit in a museum.
His stomach growls with hunger, and he can only hope the fishing line at the dock pays off.
Setting it up took a lot of energy.
If he doesn't catch anything, he might actually pass out here.
Even a small fish would do. He'd be happy with one that fits in his hand. I wonder if any fish will bite today.
Nate's already at the dock with his fishing rod in hand. As he lifts the rod slightly, he feels a tug below.
He holds his breath, fearing the fish might get scared and flee.
He slowly drags it towards the shore. Although Nate is being very careful, the fish still manages to break free.
Nate is so angry he starts cursing.
That fish was big enough to last him several meals.
He was already in a bad mood. And now it's even worse.
His soaked clothes are the most frustrating part. He has to stay in the shelter to dry them. Apart from sleeping and starving, he's got nothing to do.
Nate believes his fishing rod is fine.
The fish was just too fat. If it were a bit thinner, he might have had some meat to eat. Although he's not in a good mood, the challenge must go on.
He needs to reset the fishing line. Let's cut back to Clay. He spent a lot of time cutting up the meat and bringing it back to the shelter.
Although his body is exhausted, his spirits are high. After all that hard work, he can finally rest.
Clay hoped to hunt a deer but didn't think it would be this easy. He only found the deer's tracks yesterday, and today he brought it down with one shot. He hopes the footage turned out well and looks cool.
Not catching fish isn't so bad. Deer meat is a good trade-off. After the thrill, Clay begins to miss his family.
Thinking about sharing such good news only with the camera makes him a bit sad.
He feels that if he could share this news with the other contestants, it might make some of them quit.
Everyone could wrap up the challenge and head home sooner, but with no winner declared yet, Clay can't slack off.
He has to slice the meat and smoke it. However, the meat will spoil in a few days, and he needs to avoid attracting bears.
The task is quite heavy.
As night falls, the best move is to hang the meat.
Carrying it back unwrapped is just too exhausting. It's really tiring.
If he could, he'd roast the meat right now and eat it.
He tries to place the meat in a better spot.
I wonder if any birds will try to snatch it, but Clay thinks it should be safe up there. Tomorrow, he'll build an oven to smoke the meat.
Everything is moving in a good direction. Do you think this will attract bears? Clay can't worry about that now.
He just wants to hurry back and eat the deer heart. The best ingredients need simple cooking, so he pan-fries it.
You can almost smell it through the screen. Taking a bite, Clay can't even describe it. If he could eat this every day, he thinks he could stay here until the show runs out of money. On day 23, no bears were drawn to Clay's deer meat.
Instead, a bear sneaked over to eat wild berries while Colt was dreaming. Luckily, it was a bit far from the shelter.
Otherwise, Colt might have been a feast.
Fortunately, the rain washed away the scent. Otherwise, the bear might have gotten closer. Colt had no desire to get up. It was windy, rainy, and cold.
How could he quiet his growling stomach?
His sleep was really suffering. He plans to fish once the weather gets better. For now, he'll munch on some wild berries to curb his hunger. With his current stash, he should make it to winter.
If he can catch a few more fish, he might have a chance to make it to the end.
This hopeful thought lasted until he saw all the cranberries were gone.
Clearly, a squirrel couldn't have eaten them all.
Only that darn bear would steal them and destroy the fire pit.
Colt was so angry he almost fainted.
There were only a few cranberries left, and he could still smell the bear on them. If he didn't prefer fish, he would have taken down that bear. For now, he decided to make fish traps. He hoped to catch some fish to eat. Making the traps wasn't too hard, but it did take some time. Knowing the bear had been stealing, Colt would occasionally call out, not wanting to suddenly face it. After a long effort, he finally set up the trap, which looks like the best one among the contestants so far. Now, catching fish is another matter. Colt believes it will, especially since he can reach the prime fishing spot by boat. Most people can't set traps this far out. Do you think it will catch fish successfully? I can only wish him good luck. The camera finally shifts to Teresa, whom we haven't seen in a while. On rainy days, she would rather stay in bed if it weren't for her growling stomach. She really didn't want to leave the warmth of her sleeping bag. Her physical and mental state is still good, and she can definitely hold on for a few more weeks. The stench of her clothes is nearly driving her to quit, even though her well-built shelter is quite useful. Now, she just needs to finish the fireplace. She tried venting the smoke upward, but it didn't work well. If she sleeps here tonight, she might not wake up. Her eyes are already stinging from the smoke after just a short time. Plus, the wind outside is very strong. Continuing like this isn't an option. She needs to gather more materials and fix it up again. Nate's still upset about yesterday's failed fishing attempt. He crafted a special net to trap fish even if they try to flee. He can still control its movement. He just needs to spread the fishing lines evenly around it with the right spacing. He should finish it by the afternoon. After a lot of effort, he finally completed the super net. The net turned out well. Now he just needs a big fish to test it. Nate even tried it on his own head. And the net holds up well. A hot cup of tea after working in the cold is unbeatable. It warms him up completely. Time to see if any fish are in the net. Nate picked it up and spotted a fish right away. I must admit, this dock is impressive. Sadly, the fish he caught wasn't worth much, but he was still pretty happy. He believes there will be more chances to catch big fish in the future. Right now, the busiest person is Clay. So far, there are no flies around the deer meat. He needs to process the meat quickly. He's planning to build a smokehouse which can both smoke and store the meat. Later on, he can relax in bed and snack on jerky. He aims to make it sturdy to keep bears away. He certainly doesn't want bears getting his meat. He's been working hard lately, and his energy is running low. Clay takes a deep breath, hoping to finish building quickly so he can rest. He fills the gaps with nearby moss. In theory, it shouldn't be drafty. He left a spot to add firewood. Next, he just needed to finish the roof. Clay used a lot of moss to cover it. This not only makes it waterproof but also adds a nice flavor to the smoked meat. Next, he had to cut the meat properly and scrape it. If he wasn't worried about getting sick from eating it raw, he would have loved to eat it right off the knife. Lately, I've been relying on this meat to slowly regain my energy. Look at all this meat hanging here. Just looking at it made my mouth water. All that was left was to light the fire, which Clay thought was no big deal. Smoked venison is the best scent in the wild, and Clay was eager for it to be ready. It was now day 24 of the competition. Nate feels incredibly unlucky. This morning, he drank water without noticing there was a squirrel in it. He drank it right away, unaware of any risks. With poor eating and sleeping conditions, if I catch something, I might as well just head home in an urn. Today, Nate plans to make a fishing rod and reel. Maybe he can catch a fish in a day. That's his plan. Anyway, he thinks every angler should make their own rod. Using a handcrafted rod would definitely make you the coolest angler around. Nate spent a lot of time preparing his rod. He initially believed this would improve his situation, but he suddenly felt sick. The water was contaminated, causing serious issues. I can't even muster the energy to fish. Just sitting and breathing is a struggle. If this continues, it could be life-threatening. Instead of staying here and suffering, it's wiser to return to Vietnam for a checkup. 24 days is my max. He called the show crew. I thought Nate would have a steady fish supply from the dock. It's a shame. I hope Nate recovers soon. The competition has reached day 25, and only 5 contestants remain. Bick is poring over the show's manual, thinking it might help with the next challenge. Once he's done, he'll need to focus on finding food again. I hope there are surprises in the fish trap today. I'd love it to be full, but it's empty as usual. If not for my body fat, I'd have fainted from hunger in the shelter by now. I just hope I catch a fish soon. Try casting farther. I used to enjoy fishing, but here it's just getting more and more frustrating. He made several unsuccessful attempts and was on the verge of giving up. Unexpectedly, Bick landed a big fish. After so long, he finally had a decent meal, cooking it directly in the pot. He was a bit worried about attracting bears, but right now, filling his stomach was more important, even without any seasoning. But he found it tasty and wished he could catch one daily. Meanwhile, Teresa gathered stones for a fireplace. She just had to narrow the chimney a bit so the smoke would go outside. When the weather got harsh, she could stay warm inside. Building it wasn't too difficult, she just had to stack the stones in order.
Soon, a fireplace with a chimney was completed.
It looked pretty good, she just hoped the smoke would vent properly.
Teresa immediately lit a fire to test it.
The result was better than expected. She hurried to move in before dark.
Teresa was thrilled with her new home. If she could gather enough food, she could last until the competition ended.
Conversely, Rose's shelter was far inferior, feeling like it could collapse with just a slight gust of wind.
Things would only get worse in winter.
She needed to reinforce her shelter now.
She could try using nails to secure the frame. Then layer spruce branches on top. Unless a typhoon hit the shelter in its current state, it should be able to hold up.
Meanwhile, the best performer, Clay, was sitting and admiring a double rainbow.
He wasn't concerned about food or shelter. As long as the others didn't catch up, winning would be easy for Clay. It was all about keeping his mindset right.
Just waiting for the show to announce his victory.
How many days do you think Clay can last here? Let's wait and see together. Food is plentiful in this wilderness. There's so much venison, I can't even finish it all. Plus, there are lots of berries nearby to add some variety. If you get tired of venison, you can always fish in the lake. And if you're lucky, you might even catch a rabbit. The meat is excellent, no seasoning needed. The natural taste is unbeatable. You can only live like this here. I wonder how much longer everyone can last. It's day 26 of isolation, and Bic's been surviving on the same fish soup for days.
He's using fish bones for flavor, just enough to stave off hunger.
He feels like he's losing his mind.
He frequently chats to the camera, needing a distraction.
Winter is fast approaching.
The shelter door needs fixing.
Storing fat means even light exercise makes you sweat. Building the door isn't too hard.
Just fill it with some spruce branches.
As long as the wind stays out, it works fine.
But this setup catches fire easily.
I thought a door would be handy, but it's not. I think it might be simpler to just move it aside.
Check out someone else's shelter. It's both attractive and functional. The weather keeps getting colder. I wasn't outside for long before I started shivering.
Holding a hot water bottle barely warmed me up. Rosehip tea is delicious, but having it daily isn't healthy. You still need other food. Early in the morning, he set up nearby traps.
There was no bait, just lots of traps to cover the area.
Who knows if they'll catch a rabbit? Someone might ask why not go fishing.
If he could catch fish, he wouldn't have used the fishing line to make traps.
The positive is that there are signs of rabbits near the traps.
The downside is none have been triggered. He'll need to set up more traps where the rabbits go.
No rabbits,
but he found something good on the ground.
A big animal trap, probably used for catching bears.
This proves that there are bears around here.
Who knows what this trap is for? Ross thinks it could be taken home as a decoration. Day 27. Bic's mental state is quite poor.
Every day he dreams of a big meal and then wakes up hungry.
Winter is almost here.
He still needs to upgrade his shelter's fireplace. The river rocks are ideal for this, but even though they're close, hauling them is exhausting.
But carrying them back and forth is exhausting.
If he didn't have enough body fat, he would have passed out from hunger by now.
Bic can only carry things briefly before needing a rest.
Remember, he had ankle surgery before coming here, and it's been tough on him. His ankle feels like it's being yanked, and he's concerned the prize money won't even cover his medical expenses. I wonder why he doesn't use his clothes to pack things up.
Bic started singing again.
I must admit, his singing is quite good, but it distracts him and he falls.
His ankle was just a bit sore before.
Now his ankle is so bad he can barely stand. Despite the messy fall, he found the ground was all clay. Perfect for the fireplace. It took a lot of time, but he finally gathered enough materials. Soon, he can finish the fireplace. While washing his hands, Bic spotted a sealed bag floating by, perfect for holding the clay. He suspects the show crew tossed it there.
Bic urgently needs food and has to watch his ankle.
If he falls again, he might really have to quit the competition. Bic's only hope for the fireplace is that it doesn't burn down the shelter.
So far, it's working fine. But his stomach keeps growling and it's driving him crazy. He's not even hoping for food anymore.
He just hopes the others drop out soon or he'll run out of body fat.
Meanwhile, at Colt's place.
Despite a bear eating his stored berries, Colt is still gathering food, now focusing on items bears avoid. There are plenty of mushrooms around and they taste pretty good.
Hopefully, he won't start hallucinating. Colt believes gathering the nearby food should help him last another 2 weeks. If it were me, I'd probably eat them all in a day.
Mushrooms can't be stored in the shelter directly. They need a bit of processing to last longer.
After trimming the mushrooms and stringing them up,
he can boil them in water when he wants to eat.
The amount looks pretty decent, as long as the shelter doesn't leak.
These mushrooms should last him a bit longer.
Day 28. It's getting colder, and snow already covers the area. Ross shivered all night from the cold. He really misses his big bed at home and the pile of food in the fridge.
The more Ross dwells on it, the worse he feels. Despite not wanting to leave his sleeping bag, his stomach growls loudly. He has to go out and see if there's anything to eat. He tries his luck at the beach and soon finds bear tracks. It was likely here last night, uncomfortably close to the shelter. I'm not much of a meal, so the bear shouldn't be interested. Ross clung to that thought for comfort. Walking along the coast, he spotted more bear tracks. Suddenly, just ahead, the bear was waiting for him. Ross hid behind some bushes and shouted loudly, hoping to scare it away.
The bear didn't run off.
Instead, it walked towards Ross, making him grab his flare gun in fear. Fortunately, the show had given them training, or the bear might have had a meal. Ross couldn't tell if the bear was still nearby. He stayed frozen, emotions overwhelming him, just wanting to go home and lie down. He was conflicted about continuing the challenge. Ross did a great job staying calm and saving himself from the bear. If it were anyone else, they would have been frozen with fear. Ross managed his emotions and didn't want to quit because of the bear. He knew he would regret it later. The bear had appeared very close to the shelter.
No one could guarantee it wouldn't attack at night. His small frame couldn't withstand it.
It looked like Ross was ready to leave. If anyone had the best time among the contestants, it was definitely Clay, who hunted a deer and was now preparing to cook its head.
He tried to keep the skin intact to make a pillow by stuffing it with moss later.
He handled it with great skill. There was quite a bit of fat on it, which he could scrape off to make broth. I have to say, there was a lot of meat on it. It was enough to fill the others' stomachs. He quickly sewed up the deer's head, planning to make a venison feast later. After sewing it up, he stuffed it with moss.
The result was a nice, genuine leather pillow.
He hoped his kids would like it.
Clay was very fond of the pillow. He wished he could get another deer to decorate the room. He could cuddle the other one at night. I wondered if it would smell. Clay believed many parts of the deer were useful.
For example, the brain inside was a great lubricant. Applying it to the fur would make it easier to handle. It still smelled fresh. He put it in a pot, mashed it up, and mixed it with water. He applied it to the fur like this.
Then he just had to keep applying and stretching it.
This kind of quality leather was rare.
Clay worked on it for a while. Easily got it done.
Let's see how it turns out after it dries. The competition has reached the 30th day.
Colt's situation isn't great.
A lot of snow fell last night, and he's worried the shelter might collapse. The worst part is the snow-covered wild berries, making it tough to eat. Now he needs to gather wood to shore up the shelter. For warmth, it feels like the wind blows in all night. He needs to add more branches to the roof to keep the snow from caving it in. It will also help retain heat inside. Colt feels like he has to do everything himself, even fixing the door. If he had more strength, he would make a snow shovel. For now, he has to patch it up with branches. The finished product looks pretty good. Finally, he throws it onto the shelter. Colt is ready for winter.
Teresa is much more comfortable. She wakes up naturally from hunger every day.
The only downside is the limited food options.
Fishing is out of the question. She's given up on it. The small fish she caught before didn't provide enough energy. Gathering wild berries is more practical.
She figures the snow will cover them in a few days.
Finding food will be tougher then.
After an hour, she gathered a jar of berries.
Teresa thinks this beats fishing.
Today, she plans to venture further in search of new food sources. On her way, she discovered something edible.
It provides a good amount of energy. Overall, it's pretty good.
If the weather weren't getting worse,
Teresa would unearth everything around.
She attempted a new path home, but now there's an issue.
Everything looks the same, and she realizes she's lost. She knows that heading downhill will lead to a stream.
So, the lesson is, don't wander around aimlessly. At least there are no signs of bears nearby. Now Teresa has to rely on her instincts. The area isn't that big, she shouldn't end up at another contestant's place. She wandered around and finally made it back to the shore. Following the stream, she can return to her shelter.
Today's harvest was decent, though getting lost was a setback.
It should last her a week. But to last until the end, without fish, it's hard to keep going.
She needs to find a way to get some fish.
Colt's river has more fish, and he has a boat to reach deeper waters. He's in a much better spot than Teresa.
The boat's fine, except for the water inside. As soon as you sit, that sensation is quite unique.
He quickly rowed to the trap to avoid freezing his butt off. In theory, as the weather gets colder, the fish should be in this area. Colt picked up the fish basket.
It's clear there's nothing inside. Looks like we need some bait. For now, we'll have to try fishing. The main worry is the waves getting rougher. Falling in would be disastrous.
Still, this is a prime fishing spot. In just one go, he caught a fish. It looked pretty decent in size. He felt lucky today, managing to catch 2 fish in total. If he could catch fish daily and use his stockpiled berries and mushrooms, Colt was sure he'd make it.
Day 31.
Clay's venison drew a bear, causing a loud commotion outside. He didn't want the bear to eat all the meat. Any noise might provoke the bear, and with poor nighttime visibility, Cole had to retreat to his shelter. In theory, the bear couldn't get to the jerky. Cole planned to check it at dawn. He barely slept all night. Coming to the beach, you can see quite a few fresh bear tracks. Looks like it's a pretty big one. Hunting's off the table now. I'll need to keep the signal box close when I sleep since it's near the smokehouse. There are plenty of tracks nearby, so we moved all the meat to the shelter. At least the tracks don't lead there. The tracks didn't lead to the shelter, but Clay suddenly lost his appetite for venison. Ross had also run into a bear. He'd barely slept all night and wasn't sure how much longer he could last. All he wanted now was to go out and find some food. I've set plenty of traps before and should have caught something by now. That bear really rattled me. With each step, he gripped his bow tightly, worried a bear might charge, even though the bow wasn't very powerful. But gripping it gave me some comfort. Just when I feared another hungry day, I discovered a rabbit in the trap. It was a decent size, and he couldn't wait to eat some meat. He quickly cleaned the rabbit, trying to save as much meat as possible. Every bit of meat must be used. When I wrapped it, it was spotless. Just toss it into the pot to cook. No seasoning needed, it's already aromatic. One bite. He savors the heartwarming dish. Its taste so good it nearly brings him to tears. If only there were no bears around. Clay is setting up an alarm system. By combining a horn with a pull string, the alarm will go off immediately when triggered, startling not just bears but anyone nearby. Clay is even thinking about how to hunt bears. He's fully prepared. As soon as the horn sounds, he'll shoot his bow and arrow. He doesn't think he'll kill the bear, but he hopes to scare it off. Do you think this will work? Even with a good amount of dried venison, I need to plan well to have daily meat. After that, I'll try to catch some fish. This will boost my confidence in winning. If the others knew Clay had a venison stash and was still fishing, they'd likely want to head home for a feast. Clay's luck might have run out. He hasn't caught fish in ages. There's no choice but to keep gnawing on dried meat today. Day 32. Teresa has spent a lot of time building a raft to catch fish. When she casts her line, she hopes for a catch. She lies down often to save energy. If this trap works, I might survive a bit longer if this trap works, but the weather is brutal. It takes a lot of courage to enter the water each time. I try to set up in deeper areas, but soon enough, the old net swells and tangles with the fishing line. He had to cut the line, leaving him both frustrated and exhausted. Not only did he catch nothing, but he also ended up freezing in the process. Now, even standing up is stiff and painful. Teresa almost thought she was going to freeze to death, only feeling some relief by the fire. But her body kept trembling. Teresa felt her health was getting worse and only felt a bit better after returning to the shelter. His thigh was slightly burned and turning red. He worried about infection and doubted he could fish again. It looks like she won't make it much longer. Who do you think can outlast Clay among the remaining contestants? People who often engage in wilderness survival know that nothing beats the gifts of nature. Look at this woman just strolling on the beach and she finds 2 lost fish. Being kind-hearted, she worries they might get cold, so she cleans them and puts them in a pot to warm them up. Seeing the fish warm up, she's so moved that tears stream down her face. I have to say, free fish tastes the best. If she feels tired, she can lie on a leather recliner and have a cup of tea. Life is quite comfortable, and maybe this is the right way to enjoy solitary wilderness living. The competition has reached day 32, with only 5 contestants remain. Vic is so famished he's considering eating mice. He has no idea where they came from, but they've chewed holes in his clothes and gnawed on the wool inside. He's worried they'll bite him if they get too hungry. Fortunately, there's not much to eat inside, and his stomach is already growling. He needs to go outside to find food. It's been ages since he's had any meat, and he's feeling dizzy. With snow everywhere, Vic is being extra cautious to avoid falling. But despite his caution, he still twists his ankle and ends up crying out in pain. He thinks this beach is terrible and wishes he could move somewhere else. There's no time to complain, though. He needs to hurry and fish. In his current state, he can only cast his line from the shore, hoping a school of fish will pass by. For him, singing is the best way to release his emotions. I think Vic shouldn't be in a wilderness survival competition. He should switch to a singing contest. Maybe he'd be famous by now, but singing didn't attract any fish. Vic had gained weight before coming here, thinking he could lose 100 pounds without a problem. It's a good way to lose weight, but the extra weight is hard on his ankle. He'll need a thorough checkup at the hospital when he gets back. Vic fished until dark without catching anything, and with the weather getting colder, he wanted to ask the crew how many people were left. How could anyone endure more hunger than he has? He even has to get up at night to catch mice. This life is too hard to bear. How many days could you last? Just as Vic was about to fall asleep, the old
Mouse came back.
He heard it gnawing but couldn't see where it was. He could only protect his clothes, not wanting to wake up to more holes.
One day, he's going to smash it with a stick.
On day 33, Clay's life was going quite well, except for the threat of bear attacks. He was very satisfied with his shelter, and the leftover meat and decorations made it feel like the right way to live in the wilderness. Clay thought just eating venison was boring, so he collected some berries and mushrooms to make his meals tastier. It would be great if he could catch a fish too.
Ever since he hunted the deer, he hasn't caught any fish.
If he could eat fish today, it would be wonderful. I think he should use some venison as bait to increase his chances. While fishing, Clay suddenly felt a chill and turned to see a grizzly bear.
Luckily, it didn't come his way.
If he didn't dislike bear meat, he would have charged at it. Since the bear walked away, Clay decided to keep fishing. He couldn't believe he could hunt a deer but not catch a single fish.
No one expected the bear to come back, scaring Clay into keeping a close watch. What should you do if you encounter a grizzly bear?
Naturally, climb a tree to hide. The issue was, the bear left and then came back.
Clay felt it was toying with him.
He lost interest in fishing as the tracks led to his shelter. Without a bow and arrow, he had to be cautious and move slowly. The numerous tracks suggested the bear often roamed here. Less than 50 meters from his shelter, the bear had stood there. He wasn't sure if it was waiting for him. Luckily, the berries were untouched.
He needed to be more vigilant in the future.
Next door, Teresa had it worse. Her burn from the fire hadn't healed, so she couldn't get too close to it. Unable to go into the water, she stayed in the shelter mending her clothes to keep the wind out. She had found a fishing line on the shore earlier and pinned her hopes on it. Unfortunately, the line was frozen, making it unlikely to catch any fish. She felt continuing like this wasn't a solution and really wanted to go home and rest.
Teresa couldn't hold back her emotions and cried on the spot.
After all, her efforts weren't paying off, and her body had reached its limit. It seemed she was ready to leave.
The camera then showed Colt warming himself by the fire.
He felt things were going okay. At least he could catch fish and enjoy mushroom soup. But to win the prize,
Colt needed more food.
He checked the fish trap, thinking a boat would be much better, allowing him to fish in deeper areas and get food more easily than the other contestants. But building a boat would take a lot of time and energy. The fish trap hadn't caught any fish, and something fell off. The line was stuck. Colt used all his strength to pull it up, trying many times without success. It seemed the fish trap was a bust, and he could only see if he could salvage the ropes. After half a day's work, he only managed to recover a third.
He didn't have enough materials to make another trap.
Discouraged, he just wanted to get back to shore and rest by the fire, knowing the coming days would be tougher. On day 34, Vic, frustrated with the mice, braided his beard to lift his spirits, planning to groom it properly once he left. His long beard kept him warm, eliminating the need for a scarf. He even styled it into pigtails, though it would be smoother with conditioner.
What do you think of his look?
At night, Vic's mind was consumed by thoughts of big mice.
At the slightest sound, he was ready to take action.
After days of waiting, he finally spotted a mouse. It escaped, chewed his shoelaces, and left droppings.
Vic felt like he was losing his mind.
Walking became harder, increasing his risk of falling.
He regretted not burning everything sooner and suggested contestants should be allowed to bring a cat.
On day 35, Ross had a rough night too. His stomach growled, and the temperature dropped. He wished he could stay in his sleeping bag all day. He doubted he'd catch any fish and hoped for another rabbit. New tracks, possibly from a bobcat, had ruined his traps.
Bobcat had walked along his tracks.
The worst part was, it had destroyed his traps, probably hunting rabbits. Without the bobcat's interference, he might have caught a rabbit.
Ross felt incredibly unlucky. He didn't want to quit the challenge and hoped to hold on for a few more days.
Besides the lack of food and hunger, he didn't know when it happened, but one of his toes was very painful and looked frostbitten. In such harsh weather, a little carelessness could lead to frostbite, and severe cases might require amputation. Ross was very worried about this and soaked his foot in hot water every few hours, hoping it would help. He couldn't believe that a grizzly bear and hunger hadn't defeated him, but frostbite might. Meanwhile, Clay had already processed the deer hide. With the nice weather, he planned to spread it out as a recliner. The finished product looked great. Sitting on it, drinking hot tea, and enjoying the sunshine, life was very comfortable. Clay didn't know how many contestants were left, but he was sure not many had hunted a deer. His only worry was the bears, which he had encountered several times. And they often wandered near his shelter. Having such a neighbor was worrisome. Just as he mentioned the bear, Clay saw it walking along the beach. He quickly went back to get his bow and arrow. The bear roamed here daily, and he suspected the crew had arranged it to make winning the prize harder. Clay was worried about his food supply when he heard a noise nearby.
Suddenly,
Luckily, he was prepared, or the bear would have pounced on him.
His small frame couldn't withstand a bear attack. He managed to drive the bear away, and it probably wouldn't come back soon. Such thrilling events should happen less often. I'm curious, knowing the danger, why did he follow it? Did Clay really intend to kill it?
Reflecting on the experience, his heart was still pounding. He hoped no one would imitate him.
Unless you're professionally trained, it's best to run away.
Clay regretted not trying to shoot the bear. He might have gotten a lot of meat.
Now, it was his turn to find.
The bear was troublesome. He walked around calling out, afraid the bear might come back. After wandering outside, he returned to his shelter to chew on jerky. For him, this was wilderness survival. He wondered if the footage was good enough to show off later.
Now that even a bear couldn't scare Clay, I don't know who could outlast him.
On day 36, Teresa found a piece of cloth while packing, perfect for wiping the camera. Probably no contestant would notice such things. Compared to when she first arrived, she had lost a lot of weight.
If she didn't get some food soon, she might be sent home for a feast.
Teresa felt her wilderness survival skills were decent, just a bit unlucky. She went to the beach to check the fishing line, not expecting the water level to drop so much. She thought she'd go hungry again today, but there was a fish lying on the shore.
Thanking nature's gift, it smelled fresh. If only there were more. Although it had eagle claw marks, who could refuse free food? Teresa's mood instantly improved.
She suddenly understood why bears liked to roam the beach. They wanted free food too.
She found another fish, a good-sized one. Luck is unpredictable. You can't say the crew placed it there.
She quickly cleaned the fish, eager to eat. These two fish would provide a lot of energy, helping her last a few more days. Teresa usually didn't like fish, but here, it tasted delicious.
She wished she could eat fish every day.
Since she found fish today, Teresa is optimistic about finding more food in the future. She's unsure how many contestants remain, but the competition will intensify as winter approaches.
Her plan is to eat well and rest, taking it one day at a time.
On day 37, Ross felt severe discomfort in his toes. Even near the fire, he felt nothing, as if they were amputated. They looked like little grapes now, and continuing could be life-threatening. Ross hoped to push through, thinking warmth and movement might help. He still wanted to find some food, but the wild fruits nearby were covered in snow. He has a bit of leftover rabbit meat, but it's a distance from the shelter. Ross doesn't walk far before his heart starts pounding, and he feels short of breath, forcing him to stop and rest. His head feels like it's been hit, and he can't hear clearly or determine the right direction. Ross realizes his body can't take it anymore, and even getting back to the shelter is a challenge. The show's crew notices Ross hasn't responded for a while and rushes to check on him. They find him at the shelter, his vision blurred and looking extremely worn out. The doctor quickly examines him. After asking, they quickly examined him. The frostbite on his toes was severe. A few more days and amputation might have been necessary.
Ross's body couldn't take it anymore, and he needed to leave the challenge immediately for the hospital. He hadn't expected frostbite and had to regretfully withdraw.
With little body fat and minimal food intake, he had lost over 40 pounds. He might have lasted a few more weeks, but the showrunners forced him to leave. Though Ross knew he had to go, he wasn't mentally prepared and really wanted to push through a bit longer.
For several days, the showrunners could only comfort Ross. After some discussions, he had no choice but to leave. He could barely walk, and lasting 37 days was quite an achievement. Ross felt a bit unlucky and would definitely try to last longer if given another chance. Considering how weak he had become, barely able to see, you can imagine how tough the environment was. If you were to participate in a wilderness survival challenge, how long do you think you could last? If you can't catch fish with a rod, I suggest trying a gill net. Just set the net down and pull it up the next day. You'll find big fish caught in it, waiting to be eaten. Imagine biting into one that's thicker than your arm. Delicious. So, do you prefer fishing with a rod or a gill net? By the 38th day, only 4 contestants remain. We're now in the intense phase. Vic is still troubled by the mice. He can't understand why, in such cold weather, mice would come to his shelter looking for food. He's almost driven mad by them. The weather outside is getting colder. His shelter is leaking all over, it's awful. Despite his fat reserves, he can't endure it. The main problem is food. Without food for energy, he resorts to gathering moss to patch his shelter. This lifestyle isn't for everyone. Vic has to repair the shelter layer by layer from the bottom up, ensuring no mice can get in. Every day, he asks the show crew, "Why isn't this competition over yet? Who else is suffering on this island with me?" As time goes on, Vic's mood worsens. He just wants to lie in bed and do nothing. It took a lot of time to fix the shelter. Now, with a fire going, it's much warmer. But who knows if the mice will get in at night. On the 39th day, we turn to Corte. Today is his brother's birthday. Though they can't share a cake, he plans to bring back some mementos. His brother is also a survival expert. If he were here, he'd definitely do better. Taking advantage of the good weather, Corte goes out to look for food. Although theoretically, snow makes it easier to spot animals. So far, he's only seen a bear and no other animals. He decides to check the shore for fish. Maybe his brother's birthday brought him luck. He spots a drowned bird in the water, grabs it quickly, and smells the meat. It seems fresh. I'm curious if he's worried the bird might be diseased. Despite knowing the risk, Corte decides to try it. Peeling it open is pretty gross, but he thinks a little cleaning will make it fine. After all, the meat is worm-free. At the shelter, he cleans it well. It looks decent, as long as he cooks it properly. Corte thinks the meat will taste good. Worst case, he can use the prize money for hospital bills. With that thought, he eats more confidently. Day 40. Now, Teresa is the last woman standing, and things aren't looking good. She's down to her final set of clothes. Feeling a bit chilly, she opted to gather wild berries for a snack. Despite the tough conditions, her spirits remained fairly high. There were still lots of berries to pick, and she didn't have to worry about snow covering them yet. However, they wouldn't be enough to keep her going. The key was whether she could catch any fish. Ideally, she'd find fish like she did on the beach last time. She felt the food resources here were quite abundant. As she cleaned the fish guts, many small fish swarmed around. She figured a fish trap could help her catch a good amount of food. Back at camp, Teresa quickly began crafting the trap, ensuring the gaps were small to prevent fish from escaping. The water level continued to drop. She thought she needed to place it further out. As she slowly lowered the trap into the water, something unexpected happened. Teresa was clueless about what was happening. The fishing line had caught on something. To fix it, she had to brave the icy water. It felt like ice needles were stabbing her feet. Luckily, the trap itself was fine. The fishing line was a bit tangled, but after a quick fix, the trap could now move smoothly between the island and the shore. She set it up properly this time. This time, she went even further out, hoping to attract more small fish. Meanwhile, Vic was busy making a gill net to catch fish. Weaving the net was fairly easy, and he soon had a large one ready. Since the show banned gill nets early on, he had to wait a few more days to use it. Now, Vic just had to wait until he could use the net. He was sure it would catch fish wherever he set it. He kept himself busy to make time pass faster. For instance, he spent a lot of time making a spoon. He believed many people would be interested if he sold it online. On day 41, the weather grew colder. Vic's ankle was getting worse, making it impossible for him to hunt. He had to find a way to get food from the water. With nothing else to occupy him, Vic crafted a knife sheath from a belt. It felt like he was gearing up for a knife-making contest, not just surviving in the wild. After sharpening it, he'd have another good knife. By day 43, Vic's mental state was getting increasingly odd. He imagined himself as a troll on camera and even labeled his shelter as the troll's home. The day to set the net was approaching. Vic pushed through the discomfort and hunger, hoping to catch a lot of fish. Day 44. Corte has just started weaving his gill net. The contestants know that in the later stages, they can only rely on these nets to catch fish. Corte feels utterly exhausted, as if he's been beaten up. His whole body aches terribly. Today, even though he feels terrible, he must complete the net. Thankfully, he kept the bird. Its wing meat is quite filling. He regained some strength to weave the gill net, but progress remains slow since he's aiming to catch big fish. This gill net is slightly denser than Bic's and seems more reliable. He worked on it the entire day, finishing only at dusk. Now, it's time to test it in the water. Corte feels confident because he's made gill nets for fishing many times before. Though it took a lot of time and effort, catching fish would be worth it. Exhausted, he fell asleep while waiting to set the net. Who could have predicted a strong wind would blow at night? Now he's cold, hungry, and worried it might last until dawn. In this weather, setting the gill net is impossible. Waves are pounding the boat on the shore, even with bears around. Corte decides to check on the boat anyway. He doesn't want his hard work to go to waste. Luckily, he didn't encounter any bears on the way. As he nears the boat, his anxiety grows. His heart sinks when he sees the boat is still there but filled with water. If he waits until morning, the boat will be ruined. Corte quickly tidies it up and feels somewhat better, hoping for good weather to fish tomorrow. Now it's time to rest for a while. Day 45 is the day for setting the gill nets. Vic is in a great mood. It's time to show his real skills. The gill net is ready, he just needs to cut this bundle to make the rods. He can set it far out, but must be careful not to drop it while carrying it. Vic isn't sure how much weight he's lost, but he believes he's still healthy. He's betting everything on this gill net. Winning hinges on it. While setting the gill net, he recalls his family and the survival trips his father took him on as a child. That's when he fell in love with the outdoors. He'd enjoy it more if he weren't so often hungry. The gill net is set. It's time to test the gill net in the water. He believes it's set far enough out. Checking it twice daily should suffice. Will it make a difference for the contestants? Just after setting the net, Vic sees two bears swimming, heading towards his shelter. This is not good news. He quickly grabbed a horn to frighten them off.
Get out of here!
It worked, but who knows when they'll come back. The pressure instantly felt much greater. Perhaps he should consider hunting the black bear, as it's a viewer favorite. Vic thought he could endure a few more weeks. If he still couldn't catch any fish, he would have to call it quits. Meanwhile, Corte hadn't taken care of himself in a long time. He looked filthy and was planning to fix his boat first, then set the gill net in deeper waters. He was sure he'd catch a bunch of fish then. The boat just needed some parts replaced, and Corte reinforced it as well. He made sure the boat could stay balanced in the waves. It looked good after the repairs, but who knows how it would fare in the water. It was time to head out with the gill net. He was eager to fish here, but the sea wind stung his face. The gill net was set in the water, but instead of fishing immediately, Clay focused on repairing his shelter. He initially believed the coverings were sufficient, but then he had a better idea, using them for archery practice. He hadn't practiced archery in ages and thought it was a great idea. If the target were a deer, it would be even more fun. But fun aside, he still had to set up the 4 kings. Even though he hadn't caught any fish yet, he was sure there were fish here. He hoped the 4 kings would bring him luck. Clay planned to build a tripod to hold it and use a pulley to lower it into the water. This would be safer and more effective. It wasn't too difficult, just a bit labor-intensive. Luckily, Clay had eaten plenty of venison before. He wasn't too concerned about his strength. Clay had a significant edge so far. If the kings caught fish this time, everyone would know who the wilderness survival champion was. The frame seemed ready. Now he could string the gill net and rope together. Just as he was about to set the net, he saw a duck passing by, very close to him. He grabbed his bow and took a shot at the duck, narrowly missing. If he'd hit, duck would be on the menu tonight. Eating venison daily wasn't ideal, so he focused on setting up the gill net. Securing the rope was easy. Next, he just had to locate the right spot and move the gill net there. It went quite smoothly overall. Now it's just a matter of when I'll catch some fish. On the 46th day, Teresa tries her luck on the beach and checks how the fish trap is working. The wind is so strong here that it feels like everything is being blown away. No one expected the waves to wash the fish trap ashore and smash the basket inside. This place clearly isn't good for fish traps. Fishing seems more dependable for now. Living on plant soup is hard. The more you drink, the hungrier you feel. On the 47th day, Vic was woken up by the wind before dawn. He just wants to check on the gill net as soon as possible. After waiting for daylight, he immediately heads to the shore to check, but there are no fish at all. This really worries Vic. At least a small fish would be nice. Now he feels even hungrier. He has no choice but to go back to the shelter to rest. Vic's mental state is poor. He lacks the energy to joke and constantly thinks about his family. This makes his mood even worse, and he starts to choke up. He tries to adjust his emotions, but his efforts are in vain. It seems like he might quit any moment. It's now the 48th day of the competition. Right now, only Clay is feeling upbeat. He even pretends to be a news reporter on camera, looking quite professional. He must have watched and mimicked a lot. He really enjoys this weather, feeling much more relaxed. Some might wonder if Clay is worried about the gill net in this weather, but he's confident in the one he set up. Now he just needs to pull the net back. In such harsh weather, the chances of catching fish are quite low. He has to reset the net and recalls he can only return to gnaw on deer meat. By the 49th day, Corte's body is nearing its breaking point. Resting doesn't help his fatigue. Still, he pushes himself to check the gill net. He believes that if he can catch some fish to eat, his body will definitely recover. He speeds up to pull up the gill net. I must admit, having a boat is a huge advantage. You avoid the net getting washed ashore, and there are more fish in deeper waters. Soon he reaches the gill net and starts pulling it up. As soon as he tugs the rope, it feels heavy. He immediately speeds up to pull it in. Soon he sees 2 big fish. This makes him very happy. One fish is enough to last him several days. Had the show allowed him to use the gill net sooner, he could have been feasting on fish and rabbits daily. The boat trip was totally worth it. As soon as he returned, he began processing the fish right away. It was essential and boosted his confidence to continue. There was still a small fish in the pot. Finally, he could have a full meal today. He hoped to keep catching fish in the future. Cole felt it was really tough for him, but he was glad he persevered. On the 50th day, he found a lot of valuable mushrooms nearby. The mushrooms were a nutritious and welcome find. Cole still believed in his gill net. After all, who could make a gill net and not catch a single fish? Cole could tell you for sure, there really are people like that. He believed there was nothing wrong with the net. It just needed a few tweaks to the pulley system, maybe adding a stick. But the more he rushed to fix it, the worse it got. The gill net almost got tangled. He hoped that after the adjustments, he could catch fish smoothly.
Like Teresa, who had quit fishing, he thought it was wiser to gather more mushrooms.
Maybe he was just exhausted.
He accidentally spilled the mushroom soup, and now he had to redo everything. His mood turned quite sour. He still had to cook the mushroom soup to eat, just to satisfy his craving a bit. Feeling down, he decided to go outside to relax. I wonder if he wasn't worried about a bear showing up. Still, he seemed to be enjoying himself.
By day 51,
since arriving, Bick had shed a lot of pounds.
if anyone wanted to slim down, they should try Alone in the Wild. He could honestly say it worked better than any diet. Now, Bick was down to just eating onions, having given up on everything else. Who knew how long he could survive on just onions?
He even considered planting them to harvest later.
It was a good idea, but I worried that by the time the onions grew, Bick would already be home enjoying a big meal. Now, it was all about finding joy in the struggle. Seeing his worn-out face, I figured he might quit in a few days. I wonder if others feel the same way. Surviving in the snowy wilderness is incredibly tough.
Contestants who catch fish can enjoy a full meal, while those who don't have to go hungry. They dream of food, and even with a fire in their shelters, they still shiver from the cold at night. By the 55th day, the temperature has dropped significantly. Bick shakes his head in front of the camera, looking like a cow wanting to graze, or maybe he just wants to eat fish. I wish I could stuff some fishy-smelling grass into his mouth, then he'd get both grass and a fishy taste.
Perfect. As winter deepens, fishing gets tougher.
Bick heads to the shore with a pot for water, only to find his fishing nets frozen solid, making fishing impossible. The cold demands lots of firewood, so Bick spends most of his time gathering it. Chopping wood is exhausting, and without steady food, his energy drains fast. He warms his smelly feet by the fire, accidentally burning a hole in his sock. Luckily, the hole in Bick's sock isn't a big issue, and he can still wear it. The fireplace in his shelter is a lifesaver, and he spends most of his day burning wood to stay warm. On the 56th day, Teresa tidies up her mattress early in the morning, feeling extremely hungry. She knows she needs a warm mattress to sleep through the cold night. The weather keeps getting colder, and she wishes she could order takeout to last a while. The area is blanketed in snow, and the trees are bare. Teresa hopes to find some berries and is fortunate to discover a bush full of them. These berries are enough to last her 2 days. She collects them all, knowing this might be the last food she can find. Colt has been hiding in his shelter, wasting an entire day making dice. This guy seems to have too much free time. Instead of gathering food, he's making these things. He even rolled a straight from 1 to 5, which is useless in reality. Soon, he rolled 5 of a kind, which would make even Chow Yun-Fat call him master. When he finally steps outside to check, he finds his boat has capsized. He has no idea what to do now, especially with the weather being so cold. He really doesn't want to get into the freezing water to fix it. Without the boat, he can't fish in deeper waters. The snow-covered log is too risky to walk on. After thinking it over, he decides to crawl along the log, knowing a fall would be disastrous. He cuts the rope with a knife and drags the boat back using the log. Slowly, he manages to get it to shore, but it's already filled with water. It was likely leaking. Colt slowly dragged the boat ashore, but it had already sustained some damage. He was so exhausted that he sat by the shore, his voice barely audible. The small boat was very useful to him. Even though he was extremely tired, it was still a valuable asset. These guys are like that. Even when they're very hungry, they won't go fishing. I looked at the chicken leg in my hand, threw it to the dog, and didn't want to eat it. By the 57th day, the weather was getting colder by the day, now around -10 degrees. Clays got up and put on clothes, the kind I could wear dozens of as a kid. Clays is the most diligent contestant when it comes to getting food. He checks the fishing nets at the shore every day, hoping to catch some fish. Even though the fishing line was frozen, which didn't stop it from catching fish, Clays, with his OCD, insisted on unfreezing it before pulling the net. He pulled the net back with great effort. It looked heavy, making it seem like he had caught a lot of fish. To his surprise, he actually caught one. The fish is stuck in the water, likely caught on a rock. Today, he managed to catch a big fish, though it's frozen stiff, it's still very fresh. Half of the net is torn, and Clays considers going into the deep, cold water to retrieve it, but it's too risky. He grabs a stick from the shore, but it breaks when he places it on the rocks. Undeterred, he ties a stone to a rope, throws it into the water, and moves to another spot to set up a tripod. It turns out he wants to place the net here. Time to fish. By the 58th day, Colt injured his eye while chopping wood. It hurts a lot, and he hopes it's not serious. He keeps it closed because opening it is too painful. He boiled water, let it cool, and used a syringe to rinse his eye. It felt gritty, but it wasn't too bad. Now he needs to check the fishing net, and luckily, the raft is still usable. Today is his father's birthday, and he hopes for good luck. He paddled to the deep water area, where only he could place the net. He saw the net. At the fishing net, Colt catches a fish. As he slowly pulls up the line, a 7-pound trout surfaces. After being hungry for so long, he finally has a meal and keeps saying, yes, yes, yes. He feels like he won this fish. He had been looking forward to this for a long time, and his father's birthday indeed brought him good luck. Completely immersed in the joy of fishing, Colt can't wait to make fish soup. This fish is like a rare delicacy and will last him several days. It was as tempting as lace. He vowed to make this dead fish pay a higher price. Colt made a pot of fish soup, and just a piece of fish was his dinner for today. It was a wonderful day, and with food for a few days, he swore he wouldn't give up. On the 59th day, Teresa made another pot of berry mush. After squeezing out the pulp, only some residue was left. Although it looked unappetizing, it was still food. Now, with the freezing weather and food scarcity, having something to eat was already a blessing. He carved a wooden coat hanger in the shelter, spending time on this instead of searching for food. Wasting time. I suspect these guys aren't really hungry. He kept cutting a stick with a knife, making a hook that seemed a bit too long. Then he used a saw to cut it, accidentally injuring his hand. This was truly awful. He kept sucking his own blood and took out a first aid kit to bandage himself. I bet he'll regret making that hanger. Injuring his hand at this time could make him quit and go home. Now he doesn't even feel like eating, constantly trying to encourage himself. He sat by the shore, looking at the scenery. Hurting his hand was a huge blow to him. He doesn't want to quit like this and is trying hard to control his mindset. If he could find something to do, he wouldn't be overthinking here. On the 60th day, Colt brought a lot of wood. He plans to make a raft. He just ate fish last night, so he has the energy to work today. The next day, feeling strong, he wove a second fishing net from rope. Having caught a big fish with the first net yesterday, he hoped 2 nets would boost his chances. Weaving took time, and it got dark around 4 in winter, but he kept at it until 7 in the evening. His dedication deserved a reward. On the 61st day, with light snow falling, he set out the new net, using a raft to reach deeper, colder waters where fish usually stay in winter. In the deeper area, Colt had the best chance of catching fish. After setting up the new net, he checked the first one, pulling it up with a rope while muttering to himself. As expected, there was nothing. He joked about catching a mythical creature instead of fish. Although he didn't catch anything today, he hoped for better luck tomorrow. With the heavy snow falling, he hurried back to warm up. On the 62nd day, Clays, who had caught a fish 2 days ago, wasn't hungry. The loud sound of the waves made him reluctant to check his net, so he grabbed his bow and went looking for grouse. On the 62nd day, Clays, who had caught a fish 2 days earlier, wasn't hungry. The loud waves made him reluctant to check his nets, so he grabbed his bow and went looking for grouse. He found fresh lion droppings, indicating the lion was nearby. If he couldn't catch a grouse, a lion would make a good meal too. Clays searched for the lion's tracks but didn't find it. He decided to make a tool at his shelter to attract the lion, hoping it would work. On the 63rd day, Clays woke up early, knowing it was the best time for hunting. Armed with his bow and arrow, he set out to find the lion. This guy really wasn't afraid of anything. He saw bear tracks in the snow, which looked fresh. The tracks were very close to his shelter. If he could hunt a bear, he might win the season. All his stored meat was in the shelter, and if the bear got to it, he'd be furious. He followed the tracks through the snow, which led straight to his shelter. This wasn't looking good. On the 64th day, Bick. After waking up, Bick felt surprisingly energetic despite the heavy snowfall and his days-long fast. His energy quickly waned, though. His shelter was solid, but he had no food or supplies. He checked his fishing nets, hoping for a catch. Initially, he aimed to lose weight but didn't expect to last this long. The nets were too shallow to catch anything. If he'd used his raft, he might have gained some weight by now. He struggled with the frozen wood while pulling up the nets and wanted to place them elsewhere, but he places the nets by the shore again, hoping for better luck. Honestly, I think hunger is clouding his judgment. He's skilled but doesn't always make the smartest choices. Climbing the hill nearly wiped him out. Now, he's digging up wild onions from a patch he found earlier, his only food source today. He lights a fire to cook them, but after eating, he feels even hungrier. The food just stirred up his stomach acid. He regrets it but remains determined. That $500,000 prize is his motivation to keep going. With that $500,000, he could go home, live well, and get married. It's now the 66th day, another day has passed. Vic's routine is the same every day, wake up and wait for nightfall. He set up fishing nets last night but has no idea how they fared. He needs to check them by the shore. Catching a fish now is like hitting the jackpot. He finds a small fish by the shore. He doesn't know why it's there, but it's a dream come true for him. After scaling it with a knife, even though there's not much meat, it's better than those wild onions. At least it's protein. The fish fries beautifully in the black iron pan. It's delicious. This meal will at least keep him going for another 2 days. Even though the fish is small, Vic savors every bite, enjoying the taste of protein. Colt plans to check his fishing nets today. He set up 2 nets in the water, hoping for a big catch. If he catches fish, he might just turn the tables and win the competition. He pulls up 1 net but finds nothing. The second net is also empty. Winter fishing is just too hard. Meanwhile, Clays is in his shelter making a wooden toy, a small airplane, as a gift for his son.
It's quite intricate, but can making this plane win him $500,000?
Only by lasting till the end can he earn enough to buy thousands of these little planes.
At around 2 a.m. on the 67th day, Colt can't sleep. He feels extremely cold and keeps getting up to stoke the fire. Even with the fire, he still feels freezing. The show's crew arrives for the contestants' health check. Everyone is worried because rapid weight loss could lead to forced withdrawal. Being forced out now would be a huge loss.
In the end, Colt decides to quit the competition, which surprises me a bit.
Not long ago, he caught a fish.
Perhaps the frustration of empty nets led to his decision.
He can't bear the hunger anymore, so he heads home. What will the remaining contestants face? Stay tuned for the next episode.
He casually set up a few traps in the forest and ended up earning $3 million. This rabbit was incredibly valuable, allowing him to survive an extra week in the cold, snowy mountains. It was this extra week that brought him immense wealth. On the 68th day, Clays woke up and said he heard noises outside the shelter last night. He guessed it might have been a deer passing by. Today, he plans to check the fishing nets, hoping to catch some fish. Although he had hunted a deer before, he still felt very hungry. He went to the shore, ready to pull up the fishing net, which was tied to a long stick.
It wasn't that simple.
The wind and waves were likely too strong, tangling the fishing net around the stick and making it impossible to catch any fish. Without food, it meant another day of hunger, so he had to go hunting again. Outside the shelter, it was snowing heavily.
Teresa was sleeping inside. Is it cold or hot in there? I was momentarily confused. Could the fire really generate that much heat?
Teresa seemed in great shape, not like someone who had been starving. Yesterday she was chopping wood, and today she was organizing hay.
I couldn't figure out what these contestants were doing.
She pulled out some wood and started carving it, smoothing a branch.
It seemed like a waste of time and energy.
Teresa felt like a filler contestant.
How had she lasted this long? I'd starve if I didn't eat for a day.
She made a broom from branches and grass.
What good is a broom in the wild?
She used it to sweep snow outside the shelter, which seemed pointless. When she got back, the fire had gone out. In this cold, without a fire, the shelter's temperature would drop fast. She went out to gather firewood and rekindle the fire. After being hungry for so long, even gathering firewood felt exhausting. While collecting it, he stumbled upon bear tracks in the snow, which startled him. Luckily, there was plenty of dry wood around, and he managed to gather a large bundle. Vic took out a photo of his unborn son, already looking forward to meeting him. He was curious about who else was still in the game. If he knew he was in the top 3, he might push himself even harder. Vic then went to the shore with a fishing line. Before fishing, he checked the net he had set. The water was shallow, and half the net was still above the surface, saving his energy. Seeing him set the net like that and hoping to catch fish, I can tell Vic is really clueless. Whether he sets the net or not, it makes no difference. If he had made a raft and gone out, he would have caught fish until his hands were sore. Taking the net back and using it as stockings would be better than trying to catch fish here. He put the net back, which was a complete waste of time. On the 69th day, it started snowing heavily again. Every time the camera showed Teresa, it was snowing heavily.
Aren't they in the same area? Why is it only snowing on Teresa's side?
She was washing a towel with hot water inside the shelter. Now she really wanted to eat something, constantly saying she was hungry. But from her condition, you couldn't tell she was a hungry person.
This scene was a bit confusing to me.
She did some boring things in the shelter every day, occasionally drinking a cup of hot water. I even suspected she was drinking milk. Suddenly, she received a message from the show crew, possibly for a health check.
But Teresa thought the crew might be coming to celebrate her victory.
When the crew arrived to check her health, it was clear she had become very thin, and the doctor was very surprised. You've lost a tremendous amount of weight.
You need to be concerned about your health as well.
Yes. Maybe as well. For you to
stay out here, we're going to have to pull you for medical reasons. Do you guys mind if you just give me a moment?
I know, I'm just skin and bones.
I'm just disappointed, that's all.
I am a walking bag of bones.
I'm just disappointed, that's all.
In the end, because Teresa's weight had dropped too quickly, the show decided to force her to withdraw from the challenge. Although she didn't want to hear this news, as a weak contestant, she knew her situation. Staying here without getting any food was pointless. After Teresa withdrew, only 2 contestants were left, Bick and Clays, competing for the final championship. But in this ultimate battle, Bick's only advantage was his weight. If Bick won, Clays would be furious. Without food, Bick wanted to cut some tree bark to eat. What kind of experience is it to be so hungry that you eat tree bark? Bick scraped off the bark with a knife, and it looked like noodles. Can this stuff be eaten? He boiled the bark in an iron pot to cook away the prickles. He placed the hot pot on his thigh, and it didn't seem to burn him at all. The bark soup looked like meat soup, and Bick found it delicious. Isn't he going to eat the bark? Just drinking the water won't help. Meanwhile, Clays kept setting hunting traps. He set many snares in the forest, hoping to catch a rabbit. Fishing was very difficult now, so he had to rely on hunting. He had to think carefully about what food he needed each day, as this was the key to survival in the wild. Although Clays was very hungry, he didn't waste time like the other contestants. He considered using every scrap, like the leftover food remnants. If they were still edible, he would eat them all. He decided to go out and check all the traps, hoping to catch a rabbit. He checked the traps, but found none had been triggered. He walked slowly, not daring to use too much energy. When he checked the second trap, he caught a rabbit. What luck! Clays truly earned the title of the King of Hunting, being the contestant who caught the most food. This rabbit would secure his victory over Bick. When he checked the third trap, he found another rabbit. Today's haul was impressive. These 2 rabbits would provide several hearty meals. He cooked them thoroughly, not wasting a bit, even eating the heads. Feeling full gave him a surge of energy, making him want to call a woman to exercise with him. He couldn't stop eating the pot of rabbit meat. At night, Clays heard noises outside the shelter. When he checked, he saw prey nearby. But he didn't hunt it, possibly because it was too dark outside. Clays didn't dare to take the risk. Since he was full tonight, he let it go this time. Next time, he would make it pay. On the 70th day, Bick woke up feeling very hungry again but didn't know how to get food. He took his bow and arrow to look for prey and unexpectedly found a patch of wild onions. Maybe they were covered by snow before and went unnoticed. With the weather improving and the snow melting, Bick dug up the wild onions and cooked them in an iron pot to make soup. The smell was very fragrant. He thought he was close to winning. Clays had a good night's sleep, though his pants were loose and his clothes filthy. He went hunting in the snow, constantly worrying about food. He spotted some footprints, likely from a lion that had been around since the beginning. The lion had visited his traps, leaving bloodstains behind. Clays realized the lion had eaten the rabbit he caught, which was a huge blow. Losing that rabbit meant losing 2 days' worth of food, and it was infuriating to have his hard-earned catch stolen. On the 71st day, Bick woke up to another day of hunger. He feared not finding food during the day and having to endure hunger. Once he fell asleep, he wouldn't feel it. He went to the shore to fetch water and accidentally fell. He was tired of everything here. The days without food were getting harder. When he fetched water and returned, he fell again. This time he had to be careful. Fetching water was exhausting, and his heart was pounding. If he couldn't take it anymore, he might as well go home. Eating vegetarian food every day wasn't really surviving in the wild. If it weren't for the extra pounds he carried, Bick would have starved long ago. He felt incredibly weak, like his body was giving up. Quitting felt like a failure to his family. He had been out here for so long, and leaving without the prize would be a loss. But surviving alone for a week earned him $1,000, so he should have made about $10,000 by now. That wasn't bad at all. Even if he quit now, it wouldn't be a total loss. Clays was also torn. Despite being the best at finding food, he couldn't handle the late-stage hunger. He kept reminiscing about the days with his family. At this moment, he didn't want to stay here anymore. He took out a photo of his family from his backpack. It was the first time he looked at their photo. Based on my experience, contestants who look at photos don't last long. Let's see who quits first, him or Bick. Clays was very frustrated now, ready to quit the challenge. He wanted to go home and be with his wife. On the morning of the 73rd day, the show's boat appeared. Which contestant was going to quit? It turned out Bick announced his withdrawal. He couldn't hold on any longer. Recently, his heart had been racing, and he found it hard to survive here, so he decided to quit. He was proud of building the shelter, but barely surviving made quitting reasonable. If Bick had won, it would have been unfair. On the 74th day, Clays was the last contestant standing. He needed to survive just 2 more days to go home and claim the prize. He really wanted to go home now and be with his wife and kids. He was afraid he might call to quit now. Today was the day for a medical checkup. He sat at the door with a chair, waiting for the doctors to come. The spirit of surviving alone in the wild was to persist and live in solitude. Clays had done all that. He was very worried now. He worried about being forced to quit because of his weight. The show crew arrived for a health check. As they interviewed him, it began to snow. He wanted to quit but couldn't admit it. When asked how long he could last, he said it depended on catching rabbits, aiming for the 90th day. Finally, the crew announced he didn't need to continue. He had outlasted everyone. Victory was Clay's. He won the $500,000 prize and thanked the animals whose sacrifice kept him alive. As the strongest contestant, Clays deserved this championship. The 8th season of Alone in the Wild ended here. Next, we will update you on the latest version of Alone in the Wild Season 11. Please like, subscribe, and stay tuned.